Good morning, everyone. My name is Elliot Payne. I'm the president of Minneapolis City Council. Before we convene our meeting, we have a few presentations of honorary resolutions. We are pleased to welcome guests to this space to share in these presentations before taking up our agenda. I'll invite Councilmember Jenkins to present the first resolution.
Is this a resolution? Wonderful. All right. Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Andrea Jenkins, representing Ward 8, and I am honored to read this resolution today along with my colleagues, council members. Sorry. Good morning, everyone. My name is Andrea Jenkins, representing Ward 8, and I am so honored to read this resolution along with my colleagues, council members Chowdhury and Wansley, declaring April 2024 as Sexual Assault Awareness Month in the city of Minneapolis. Whereas, formally acknowledging April as Sexual Assault Awareness Month in Minneapolis each year is a necessary step towards centering and honoring victims, survivors in our community. And whereas, we must face the truth that sexual violence occurs in this city, and at its core, sexual violence is indisputably about power and control. And whereas sexual violence has been used as a tool of war, state violence, colonialism, white supremacy, anti-blackness, patriarchy, transphobia, and misogyny, and as a result, Minneapolis's Black, Indigenous, queer, disabled, and youth communities are victimized at high rates. And whereas
victim survivors face an uphill battle after experiencing sexual violence, and being believed is the first step by many victim survivors to seek medical care, housing, financial resources, justice, and emotional support. And whereas out of every 1,000 sexual assaults, 975 perpetrators will walk free, and only 310 of every 1,000 assaults are reported. And whereas discrimination against citizenship, status, cultural norms, class, race, age, ability, gender, and sexuality can be a barrier to healing. And
And whereas the impact of sexual violence extend beyond the immediate victims to families, communities, and society as a whole. And whereas every member of our community deserves a healthy and nourishing environment in which sexual violence does not thrive, and every member of our community is thereby responsible for championing consent, bodily autonomy, accountability, and anti-racism. And whereas a growing number of community members are calling for change, and we must imagine a new version of our city in which reports of sexual violence are treated with urgency and consideration. Advocacy organizations are given sufficient resources, and the various needs of victims, survivors are consistently met. And whereas
victims, survivors deserve access to accountability mechanisms outside of the criminal legal system, and whereas we have a long way to go, but transformation is possible. Whereas the City Council is dedicated to collaborating with local organizations, agencies, and advocates to combat sexual violence, enhance victim services, and cultivate a safer community for all. The City of Minneapolis demonstrated its solidarity with victim survivors by participating in Denim Day, which is April 24th, which was April 24th, 2024, the longest running sexual violence prevention and education campaign highlighting the misconceptions and surrounding sexual violence. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and city council do hereby declare April 2024 as Sexual Assault Awareness Month in the city of Minneapolis and encourages all residents to engage in activities and events designed to raise awareness about sexual assault and advance prevention efforts and support survivors. Thank you. I know that we have many community organizations and advocates, survivors here today, and so I just want to offer an opportunity for some of those folks to share some insights and maybe talk about what other kinds of events are happening. And I'll start with our staff person, Shanu, if you want to share a few words.
Well, thank you, Councilmember Jenkins, President Payne, Vice President Chuck Tai, and council members. I would like to just begin with passing the microphone to Kenosha Davenport. Couldn't be here from Sexual Violence Center, but her staff, Allison, to say a few words.
Hello, as mentioned, I'm Allison. I'm the prevention advocate at the Sexual Violence Center. The Sexual Violence Center is a local rape crisis center in South Minneapolis. We provide services to primary and secondary victims of sexual violence. And I just want to thank the city of Minneapolis for continuing to partner with us. Throughout this, we are able to help ensure that victim survivors don't have to navigate this process alone. So thank you.
Next, I'd like to pass the microphone to Artika Roller. She's the executive director at Cornerstone.
Thank you. Council members, thank you, Mayor, for taking the time to make sure that we are recognizing the importance of victims and survivors of sexual violence. Thank you, Councilwoman Jenkins, for your long-term commitment to providing services and centering this work and partnering with communities. I appreciate you always being above the curve and really recognizing that this is important. Victims and survivors need to be heard. As you mentioned, yesterday we observed Denim Day, and that comes out of a case in Italy where a young woman was taking driving classes and her driving instructor raped her. He was convicted, and in 1998, the conviction was overturned because he demanded her to take off her jeans. And his conviction was overturned because they said that she participated in her own rape. Now, we stand in solidarity around the misconceptions by recognizing the injustice that happened on that day, but stand in solidarity with our systems and our partners that sometimes work with constraints. But I know that the council, and especially Councilwoman Jenkins, has always looked at how do we center victims. And our call to action is continuing to do that, to center victims by dismantling antiquated policies, practices, and laws that don't serve our community, and also center the needs of victims and survivors and our safety and well-being in the city of Minneapolis. So thank you for your long-term work and commitment, and thank you for the council for looking at these policies and practices in a way where we can center the safety and well-being of all residents in the city of Minneapolis.
Thank you so much. Good morning, Council President Payne. Good morning, Council Member Jenkins. To the council, to the brilliant staff who've been helping and supporting us today, and to all of you who are here. My name is Julia Tyndall. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and I'm the interim director of the Sexual Violence Prevention Program at the Minnesota Department of Health. And it is such an honor to get to be here and a privilege to speak to you all on behalf of the state of Minnesota and to express gratitude for this resolution to reaffirm the city's pledge to raise awareness, advance prevention, and support survivors as part of Sexual Assault Awareness Month. By 11th grade, at least 16%, that is 1 in 6, at least 16% of Minnesota youth have experienced sexual violence. And people continue to experience victimization across the lifespan. Over 53% of women and over 22% of men in Minnesota have reported experiencing sexual violence in their lifetimes. And we don't have the numbers to understand the level of the problem for our transgender and genderqueer siblings. And we know from the work of Black feminists, activists, and scholars like Dr. Kimberly Crenshaw that those numbers are even higher among people who face multiple intersecting forms of oppression and discrimination. This is a sobering reality, and this is the thing that gives me hope. As the resolution stated, transformation is possible. Sexual violence can be prevented. And there are people who are doing that work right here and right now in the city of Minneapolis. And I am so honored to get to share this space with all of you today. There is a long history of communities in Minnesota mobilizing to prevent sexual violence, led by Black leaders, American Indian communities, people of color, queer and trans communities, disabled leaders, young people, and victims and survivors. And we all have a role to play. So thank you so much for this resolution. Thank you for all of you for being here today. It's an honor.
I'll pass the microphone to Comfort here, and hopefully someone from the University of Minnesota.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Council President, council members, all community members present, community advocates, one of my favorite humans in the world. Good to see you. Good morning. My name is Comfort Dondo, and I'm the founding executive director of a program called Pumulani, Minnesota African Women Against Violence. I am a survivor, which is what led me to the work. And I represent a lot of invisible survivors in our community. That is survivors of sexual assault that happened before they landed in Minnesota. Rape as a form of war, and survivors of sexual violence forms that are not as common as female genital mutilation and cutting. I'm just thankful for the partnership of the city of Minneapolis, and I want to continue to lift up those who are, because of the endemic nature of colonization, racism, and other isms, that are normally not at the tables or even in these rooms. Those who are usually invisible and underserved and unserved And I continue to advocate for resources to be funneled to those spaces where often folks are not as represented in rooms. And I thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much to the City Council for having this and for recognizing this important month. My name is Mariam Hassan. I'm an undergraduate student at the University of Minnesota. We're here on behalf of the Undergraduate Student Government Sexual Assault Task Force. We are a group of students. We represent 30,000 students at the University of Minnesota Twin Cities, and we advocate for sexual assault prevention on campus, for promoting resources on campus for undergraduate students. We host events for undergraduate students to come and be supported by a community. I wanted to thank everyone here for the work that you do, because it would not be possible on campus to continue that work without all of you. So thank you. And thank you all for recognizing this important issue. It affects students and also everyone else in Minneapolis. So.
Thank you. I'm Katie Blackwell, Councilmember President Payne. Thanks for inviting me. And Councilmember Jenkins, it's wonderful working with you. I oversee operations for Minneapolis Police Department. With that, that is patrol and investigations. And this is always near and dear to our heart to investigate these crimes to the fullest, because they are heinous crimes. And to the survivors out there, I want just you to know that it is not your fault. It's not your fault. And we're here for you. And it's an honor to be with all of these partners of ours, because they play a huge role in the success of trying to provide some comfort and some closure when we come to the end of the investigations for these survivors. And what you do matters, and you play such a big role in trying to mitigate these crimes, and we're doing the best that we can to help work with all of you to support these survivors. So thank you so much for the work that you do and being here.
Did you want to say more, Shana? Wow, I'm just so deeply honored to be in community with all of you who are doing this tremendous work throughout the city of Minneapolis to prevent sexual violence, but also to be there to support survivors. We've been doing this work together for a very, very long time, and there's still a lot more work to do. So thank you, everyone, and I hope we can get a big group photo. We probably need a panoramic shot. Someone want to hold the resolution? Also want to just shout out staff who worked on this resolution. Thank you all so much, particularly my team member, Christina Mitchell. Thank you all for making this happen.
You should take it. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Next, I'll welcome up Vice President Chuck Tai and Councilmember Chavez for a resolution honoring Veronica Mendez Moore.
And then if we'll fill in from there and around. Hey. Hi. It works just fine. Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for joining us today. I'm really honored to be able to take a few minutes to present this honorary resolution and recognize your incredible and your tireless work, Veronica. When we look at the important advances that workers have made in our city, whether it's $15 minimum wage or the recovery of stolen wages or earned sick and safe time, so much of that work had hundreds and thousands of people that were a part of it. But Veronica, you are someone who has been a leader in all of those fights. You've been at the center of so much of that work. Thank you sincerely from the bottom of my heart, from Councilmember Chavez's, from our entire city council, for what you've done for working people in our city. And thank you for your collaboration with us here at City Hall on advocating for better policies and practices and budgets to continue to make that work possible and to continue to center working people in all of the choices that we make here. Your work in empowering everyday people to take ownership of their futures and of their workplaces. It's I hope you see that as as one of the most important parts of your legacy in our movement. I got to know Veronica as a young activist and have continued to be inspired by her leadership as someone who shares so many identities with me, as a woman of color, as a child of immigrants, being a leader and being just so authentically herself in all of the spaces that she's in. It helps make it possible for people like me to step up and lead too. And thank you for all of your work over the last 17 years. All right, we're going to present this resolution now. Honoring Veronica Mendez Moore as she departs from Setul. Whereas Veronica Mendez Moore is a South Minneapolis resident who was born and raised here by immigrant parents from Peru, and whereas for nearly 2 decades, she has dedicated herself to organizing workers in Minneapolis to improve conditions in their workplaces and in their lives with a strong focus on immigrant workers and workers of color. And whereas Veronica served on the city's workplace regulations partnership, which helped develop the city's earned sick and safe time policy. And whereas from its inception through 2023, she served on the city's Workplace Advisory Committee, or WAC. And whereas Veronica was a key community advocate who worked with the city council to develop the city's $15 minimum wage ordinance, and whereas, that's right, in 2007, she co-founded and became co-director of the workers' rights organization Centro de Trabajadores Unidos en la Lucha, CETUL, or Center for Workers United in Struggle. And whereas Veronica has served as co-director of CETUL for 17 years, helping lead CETUL in organizing thousands of workers and community members in Minneapolis to improve their workplaces and lives. especially focusing on immigrant workers and workers of color. And
Whereas Setul spent several years organizing janitors in the city, a largely immigrant workforce, and as a result, 500 workers used skills they had developed to unionize the Service Employee International Union, SEIU, Local 26, and improve their working conditions and pay. And whereas in her tenure at Setul, Veronica helped workers recover more than $6 million in unpaid wages. And whereas Veronica and Setul helped hundreds of workers in Minneapolis apply for and receive frontline worker pay in recognition of the disproportionate risks and sacrifices made by these workers during the COVID-19 pandemic. And whereas Veronica worked to develop the co-enforcement partnership between the Labor Standards Division and departments along with the community organizations who engage regularly with workers who are most impacted by the laws the division of or department enforces to increase compliance with worker protections. And whereas, under her leadership, Setul helped win $1.8 million in American Rescue Plan Act funds directed towards enforcement of municipal labor standards in Minneapolis with a focus on downtown. A portion of that funding is administered by Setul to host and coordinate the co-enforcement collaborative. And whereas Veronica and Setul built the Campaign for Dignity and Respect, focusing on workers' rights in the non-unionized sectors of the Twin Cities metro construction industry. And whereas, after 17 years as co-director of Setul, Veronica will be stepping down at the end of this month, giving the city an opportunity to recognize her many accomplishments as a leader in the struggle to create a more and just, equitable Minneapolis.
now therefore be it resolved that the mayor and city council do hereby honor Veronica Mendez-Moore for her tireless work over the last 17 years to improve the lives of working people and immigrants in the city of Minneapolis, and together we wish their best in her future endeavors.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate this, and I am really honored to be receiving this honor. I'm honored to get to share this day with all of my people from Setul, with the city council, and with my family, and especially my kids, Teo and Mila, who get to hear today what I do when they share me with the world every day. And I feel deeply proud of all of the things listed in the resolution, but what I'm most proud of and what I believe underlies all of that is that I got to support so many people to become leaders through this work who are going to continue to be leaders long after I'm gone from Setul. When I started at Setul, I was not surprised, but I was overwhelmed to see all of the ways that low-wage workers of color are being squeezed from every angle every day by businesses and corporations who were finding ways to profit off of their exploitation. And despite all of the things stacked against them, thousands of workers have come to Setul to stand up for themselves. And I've had the honor of moving hundreds of workers facing wage theft and unsafe workplaces, etc., to shift from being victims to being protagonists, to being leaders, to recognizing their collective power. And I'm proud of motivating workers to transform the way that they see themselves and how they move in the world. And it is through people's own transformation that they're able to transform their surroundings, whether that's workers changing their workplaces and increasing wages, changing the economy through corporate campaigns and policy, from leaving abusive partners to standing up to school administrations discriminating against their kids. When people are transformed, all of that's possible. And that's what I'm proud of. Because that's the only way that we expand and win the kinds of life-changing victories that I've gotten to be a part of, winning together with workers, partners, and city council. So thank you so much for this honor today. And the fact that you've decided to honor me tells me that you are not only value me, but that you value the workers having a voice in our city and that even as I leave Setul, I look forward to standing with you all to continue advancing worker power through labor standards boards and ensuring that non-union construction workers have a voice on the job.
Sí se puede. Sí se puede.
Sí se puede. Sí se puede. Sí se puede.
Woo! I'll just have a few words, if this works, for Veronica. Used to be a Ward 9 constituent, got redistricted into Ward 8. A very big loss to our ward because of the amount of work that you have always done to put workers before profits. I think one thing that I've learned to realize is that you're always at the front, making sure that we can put the power of the people, the workers in the city, above corporate profit. And that is something that is going to be with us as we continue this journey in the city, but also folks up here. They're going to continue pushing that needle to make sure that we can continue to put workers first. And I just want to show my appreciation for you and the work that you have done and will continue to do, because it's not done. It's just going to be in a different role. So we're very proud of you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
There you are.
Next, we will have Vice President Chagtai, Councilmember Chavez, and Councilmember Chowdhury introduce a resolution honoring International Workers' Day.
All right, I think this is working now. Welcome back. I'm so excited to have an International Workers' Day resolution returning in front of the City Council. That we recognized the International Workers' Day back in 2007 and 2009, and today the immigrant and workers' rights movements in Minneapolis have only grown and formed a closer relationship with one another. bringing about state and municipal changes in our community that have transformed the lives of so many people and will continue to do so. International Workers' Day is celebrated around the world, and it is something that has always brought the immigrants' rights movement and the workers' rights movement closer together because of how interconnected our struggles are. In this country especially, the unique type of exploitation we see of immigrant workers is so deeply connected to the workers' rights movement, to the labor movement. And so I'm excited for us to be able to honor this day and recognize and celebrate the importance of the work in our city and in solidarity with people around the world who celebrate this important holiday as well. Recognizing International Workers' Day. Whereas around the world, May 1st is celebrated as International Workers' Day. In over 60 countries, it is a holiday to recognize struggles for workers' rights. And whereas May 1 was first celebrated in the United States in 1886 as a part of the struggle for the 8-hour workday, and hundreds of thousands of workers across the country went on strike to demand better working conditions and shorter hours. And whereas many of the workers who struggled for the 8-hour workday in 1886 were immigrant and Black workers, among others who had been previously excluded from the actions around labor and faced repression, discrimination, and violence. And
whereas May 1st celebrations returned to Minneapolis in 2006 because of the dedicated work done by the immigrant rights movement, counter discrimination, and human rights violations against immigrants at the national level, and strengthen relationships between organized labor and immigrant workers. Thank you. And whereas the Minneapolis City Council passed resolutions in 2007 and in 2009 recognizing the growing immigrant workers' rights rallies in Minneapolis on May 1st, which have continued annually through the present year.
Whereas Minneapolis has a long history of immigrant and workers' rights advocates coming together in the spirit of solidarity, and whereas immigrants, workers, and their families are an essential and valued component of our Minneapolis community, and whereas labor unions and the historic and present advocacy of working people has resulted in economic, social, political transformation for the dignity of all people here in Minneapolis and around the world. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Mayor and City Council do hereby recognize May 1, 2024 as International Workers' Day in recognition of immigrant and workers' rights.
We also just want to honor the people who are here with us from Setul, from Copal, from the iron workers, our own city staff in the neighborhood and community relations department, our Teamsters, Minnesota Workers United, and the Minnesota Immigrants' Rights Committee. Thank you all for being here, and I'll hand it off to one of our leaders.
Buenos días. ¿Alguien habla español? Inglés. Necesito traducción. ¿Me ayudas, Brad? ¿Quién me ayuda? Brad. Buenos días.
Good morning.
Quiero compartir un poquito de la historia.
I'd like to share a little bit of history.
Cuando llegué a este país no tenía nada. Llegué solamente con un sueño en mi corazón.
When I arrived in this country, I didn't have anything. I just had a dream in my heart.
No tenía un lugar para vivir. No tenía nada.
I didn't have anywhere to live. I didn't have anything.
Recuerdo los momentos que dormía en el suelo.
I remember times when I slept on the floor.
Recuerdo los momentos que no tenía un plato para comer.
I remember when I didn't even have a plate to eat off of.
Pero trabajaba firmemente.
But I worked hard.
Día y noche.
Day and night.
Lavando platos.
Washing dishes.
Limpiando baños.
Cleaning bathrooms.
Y pronto me di cuenta que no tenía derechos.
And I quickly realized that I didn't have rights.
Yo pensé que no tenía derechos.
I thought I didn't have rights.
Me di cuenta que había discriminación y explotación en este país.
I realized that there's discrimination and exploitation too in this country.
¿Por qué yo?
And I asked, why me?
¿Por qué yo no puedo tener un descanso?
Why can't I have a break?
Sin embargo, ahora me siento orgulloso de trabajar para la ciudad de Minneapolis.
But now I feel very proud to work for the city of Minneapolis.
Pero algunas veces también he pasado por discriminación.
But there have been times that I've experienced discrimination.
Recuerdo cuando una vez llegué al edificio donde trabajo,
I remember one time when I came to the building I worked
alguien
in,
vino hacia mí y me dijo,
and someone came up to me and told me,
¿eres el janitor?
"Are you the janitor?"
Me di la vuelta y me subí triste a mi oficina.
I turned around and I was sad as I went up to my office.
Tengo un permiso de trabajo,
I have a work permit,
pero lo tengo que renovar cada año.
but I have to renew it every
Y
year.
cada año pienso que va a ser el último año que puedo estar aquí.
And every year I think this could be the last year that I'm here.
Pero sé que no estoy solo.
But I know I'm not alone.
Sé que hay mucha gente
I know there's a lot of
y
people,
quiero que hagamos honor a ellos.
and I'd like to honor them.
A ellos, a los que están cuidando a nuestros policías,
Those that are taking care of our police,
a nuestro mantenimiento,
our building maintenance,
a los trabajadores que están en South Minneapolis o North Minneapolis,
the workers in North Minneapolis
a
and
los
South
trabajadores
Minneapolis,
invisibles.
the invisible workers.
Y también quiero decir que no soy el único.
And I'd like to say I'm not the only one.
Recuerdo hace más de 20 años cuando estaba Pablo organizando
I remember more than 20 years
Recuerdo
ago
a William.
when Pablo was organizing, William was organizing,
y hay mucha gente más.
and there are many more
Recuerdo
people.
cuando pusimos 40,000 personas en el Capitolio.
I remember when we mobilized 40,000 people to the Capitol.
También recuerdo cuando nos rompieron el corazón por las redadas en Worthington, en Wilmar
And I remember when it broke our hearts to see immigration raids in Worthington and Wilmar,
y aquí en la ciudad de Minneapolis.
and even here in the city of Minneapolis.
Y teníamos una ordenanza,
And we had an ordinance,
pero la migración no la respeta.
but immigration didn't respect it.
Es para mí un honor ahora
For me, it's an honor
ser el especialista latino para la ciudad de Minneapolis.
to be the Latino community specialist for the city of Minneapolis.
Gracias y no olvidemos que todos tenemos derechos.
Thank you, and let's never forget that we all have rights.
Thank you for those presentations. At this time, I'm going to call the regular meeting of the City Council for April 25th to order. The clerk will call the roll.
Councilmember Chavez.
Present.
Councilmember Vita.
Present.
Councilmember Ellison.
Here.
Councilmember Koski.
Present.
Councilmember Wansley.
Present.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Present.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Present.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Present.
Councilmember Cashman.
Present.
Councilmember Osman.
Present.
Councilmember Rainville.
Present.
Vice President Chugtai.
Present.
President Payne.
Present.
There are 13 members present.
Let the record reflect that we have a quorum. Colleagues, the agenda for today's meeting is before us. Are there any amendments to the agenda? Seeing none, may I have a motion to adopt the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
The clerk will call the roll.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Vice President Chugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries and the agenda is adopted. The next item is acceptance of the minutes from our regular meeting on April 11th. I would entertain a motion to accept those minutes.
So moved.
Second.
The clerk will call the roll.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye. Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins. Aye. Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Vice President Chugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries, and those minutes have been adopted. Finally, we have the referral of petitions, communications, and reports to proper committees. May I have that motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
The clerk will call the roll.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Vice President Chugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries, and those matters have been referred. The next order of business is the presentation of reports from our standing committees. Those are taken in alphabetical order, beginning with the report of our Administration and Enterprise Oversight Committee, which will be presented by its chair, Councilmember Wansley.
Thank you, Chair Payne. The Administration Enterprise Oversight Committee is bringing forward 15 items for approval. The first is a passage of resolution for a gift acceptance from the Honor Guard Foundation of travel expenses. 2 is a passage of resolution for a gift acceptance from the Metropolitan Police Department of travel expenses. 3 is a passage of resolution for a gift acceptance from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention of travel and lodging expenses. 4 is a passage of resolution for gift acceptance from the National Association of City Transportation Officials of travel stipend, conference registration, and travel and lodging expenses. 5 is accepting bid for pond land care vegetation management. 6 is accepting bid for upgrades of St. Anthony ADA pedestrian ramps. 7 is accepting bid for 2024 concrete sidewalk replacement program. 8 is accepting bid for small diameter pipe cleaning and televising. 9 is authorizing contract amendment with Versacon Inc. for the Target Center Grab and Go Market Construct Services. 10 is authorizing a contract amendment with Short Elliott Hendrickson Inc. for engineering and design services for Nicollet Ave Street construction and bridge reconstruction. 11 is authorizing a contract amendment with Morcon Construction Inc. for the ceiling and lighting upgrade Phase 4 project. 12 is authorizing contract amendment with Eureka Construction Inc. for the Upper Harbor Terminal Dowling Avenue North construction project. 13 is authorizing a contract amendment with Thomas & Sons Construction Inc. for the Lower Dowling Ave, 33rd Ave, and West River Road construction project. 14 is approving a legal settlement with Donald Williams v. City of Minneapolis et al. And then 15 is a passage of resolution approving the 2024 Open Street sponsorships and authorizing contracts with various organizers. With that, I move all items for approval and also stand for questions.
Councilmember Wansley has moved approval of the committee's report. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll have the clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Vice President Chugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries, and the report is adopted. The next report is from our Budget Committee, and that report will be presented by that committee's chair, Vice President Chugtai.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Budget Committee is bringing 3 items for approval today. Item number 1 is approving Erica Mauter for council reappointment to the Capital Long Range Improvement Committee. Item number 2 is adopting findings and passage of ordinance for the appointed position in the Minneapolis Police Department for Director of MPD Training. And item number 3 is adopting findings and passage of ordinance for the appointed position in the Finance Department of Senior Manager Banking Investments and Debt. I'll move approval of the Budget Committee's report.
Vice President Chugtai has moved approval of the Budget Committee's report. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll have the clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Vice President Chugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries and the report is adopted. Next, we'll have the report from our Business, Housing, and Zoning Committee, which will be given by the committee's chair, Councilmember Osman.
Thank you, President Payne. The Business, Housing, and Zoning Committee is bringing forward 13 items for approval. We're also bringing forward one item without recommendation, the Tobacco Product Ordinance, which was amended at the committee. Item 1 is the approval of on-sale liquor with Sunday sales, not live entertainment license for Hazel's Northeast. Item 2 is a land sale redevelopment agreement, exclusive development rights agreement, and temporary construction easement with Envision Communities for 2106 and 2110 Ben Avenue North. Item 3 is the Tobacco Product Ordinance, which was amended at committee. We are bringing forward without recommendation. Item 4 and item 5 are 5 liquor license approval and 53 liquor license renewal. Item 6 is 30 gambling license renewals. Item 7 approves modification to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund loan debt for Downry House at 1821 5th Avenue South. Item 8 amends development terms for the Baldwin Square project. Item 9 authorizes applications for spring brownfield grant round. Item 10, a contract with Mid-Minnesota Legal Aid for legal services to support low-income renters. Item 11 is a drainage and utility easement vacation at 2400 and 2406 McNair Avenue. Item 12 is approving an application for basement for an on-sale liquor with Sunday sales and limited entertainment with operating conditions. Item 13 is a Home American Rescue Plan Award recommendation for Minnesota Indian Women's Resource Center project and the Kyle Garden Square. Item 14 is approving the new Nickel redevelopment project public space framework, authorizing an MOU with MPRB to plan for a future park and appropriating funds for pre-development services and community engagement for phase 3. I will move approval for all items except item 3 and item 12, which I would like to pull for separate discussion and votes. Thank you.
Councilmember Osman has moved approval for all items except for 3 and 12. Is there any discussion on the remainder of those items? Councilmember Rainville.
Thank you. I want to speak on item 12. That's why I'm in queue.
Okay, well, we'll hold that for that vote. Councilmember Chavez, you're in queue.
Thank you, Council President Payne. And my queue is no longer working, but I guess my name is still there. I was going to speak to item number 12, but also item number 10. So just really excited to vote in favor of item number 10, which will help with free legal services to low-income renters facing evictions, health and safety hazards, and other legal housings. I think this is an important asset to our community members, and just excited to vote in favor of it. I'll hold my comments on item number 12.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Thank you, President Payne. I wanted to just speak to item number 14 and really thank staff for the hard work in bringing this project forward. This is the start of, I think, a very new, exciting era in the city of Minneapolis. The reopening of Nicollet Avenue, reconnecting that entire corridor is really a momentous occasion for the city of Minneapolis. So, and the South Side, and the partnership with the Park Board sounds really incredible too, to bring green space to a community that really doesn't have much right now. So just wanted to acknowledge this beginning process and express my excitement. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Jenkins. Vice President Chugtai.
Thank you, Mr. President. Wanted to just echo what Council Member Jenkins just shared. The Kmart site is entirely in the Whittier neighborhood, but it is at the intersection of Ward 10, Ward 6, Ward 9, and Ward 8. And it is going to, transform the South Side, and having some more green space in the Whittier neighborhood, which is home to one of the largest density of children in our city, is really, really important, and really excited about this public space framework. And I think, one of the common themes that we have heard throughout the rounds of community engagement that have been completed so far, and I think is really shared by the city of Minneapolis and our staff that are working really closely on this project is, we are committed to building for the people who are here. That we want to see an asset that is both going to transform the South Side and also prevent displacement of our many, many communities who call it home today and have for generations. So excited to see this item finally come before us. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no one left in queue, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll on all items except for 3 and 12.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Vice President Chugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries, and those items are adopted. Next, we will take up item number 3 on the tobacco products ordinance. Councilmember Rainville, are you in queue for item 3? Okay. Any discussion on item 3? Vice President Chugtai.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, before you will see an amendment that I am bringing forward to the regulation of tobacco products ordinance, which essentially will allow for a business in Uptown to continue to be able to exist. Like so many businesses in our city, like all commercial corridors in our city, the years following 2020 have been really difficult. And our commercial corridors are going through massive transformation and are experiencing hardships. And I'm really proud of representing Uptown. I'm really proud of the people that continue to stay in Uptown and continue to invest in the community that is there. And I don't want to see another empty storefront in Uptown. We want to see the opposite there. And so bringing this item forward, I really believe in and appreciate all of the public health regulations that are included in this tobacco products ordinance. I know how much the work on public health means to its author, Councilmember Vita, who has had a long career in public health prior to her time in office, but there's this change will allow the one business in our entire city that is using that is allowing sampling of cigars that don't target new smokers and don't target young smokers, but instead are this is a business that's patronized by people who are not brand new smokers, and I want to continue to see development and prosperity in Uptown, and this is a part of me standing up for my community. Thank you. I'll move approval of this motion and ask for a second.
Is there a second?
Second.
The item number 3 has been moved and amendment has been seconded. Councilmember Cashman.
Thank you, President Payne. Council Vice President Chugtai, can you explain the date change here at the top of the amendment and what that means?
Yes, Mr. President, if I may.
Please.
Yes. So April 1st, 2024 has come and gone, right? And the implementation date of this ordinance is going to be at the end of this year, but this is allowing that a business that's operating and using sampling as of April 1st of this year and has a license and is able to operate is able to continue to do so following the passage of this ordinance and the implementation of the rest of the ordinance as it stands. And the purpose of picking this date was to make sure that this wasn't a new thing that businesses could engage in, and it would limit the expansion of sampling in our city. And then the other piece to know here is only businesses that have 90% of their sales be tobacco products are able to use this. So keeping in mind that the largest group of new nicotine users are not tobacco smokers, but instead use e-cigarettes, vapes, and knowing that's a pretty large hurdle.
Thank you. Am I understanding correctly that this kind of grandfathers in the ability for
Yes.
this particular business to allow sampling?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Vita.
Thank you, Chair Payne. Okay, so yes, this business would be grandfathered in, but so would 64 other businesses. It's not just one business. There's 65 businesses in this city with the same license that this particular business has. And so it would be all of them. You can't just pick one and say this business is going to be grandfathered in. Thank you for acknowledging my 20-plus year career with public health and tobacco, in particular, Vice President Chuck Tai. With having that career, I know that the argument has always been that the businesses are going to shut down. As someone who worked on Freedom to Breathe 17 years ago, I was told that I was going to single-handedly shut down bars and restaurants by advocating for the Minnesota Clean Indoor Air Act, and we know the opposite happened. This business is not sampling. Like, you get a sample at Costco when you walk up. You get to try it. If you want it, you go to the freezer and pull it out and buy it. You have to purchase before you sample in this business. You don't get to, test the cigar and then buy it later. You buy it, you sit down, you smoke it, and then if you like it, you buy more on your way out or while you're sitting there. So this isn't sampling as we understand sampling to be, as people who love, you see the line around the aisles in Costco for sampling. It's not the same way. And then we can't create policy in the city of Minneapolis based on one business. We just can't do that. This policy is, what I'm hearing is, we want to allow this one business to continue to sample, which is a loophole. It's really not sampling. It's allowing this one business to continue to have smoking in the business. And I will say, this didn't come out of my work or even the advocates that I worked with on other parts of this amendment. This came from surrounding business owners who can smell what's happening in this business. This came from people who actually go to this business and say, I go in there and I buy cigars, but it's pretty smoky in there when I go in there because there's a lot of people sitting in there smoking. And so I just want to be careful about this grandfathering. It's not grandfathering in one business, it's grandfathering in 65 businesses. And what I know of retailers who sell tobacco is, typically, if we give them an opportunity to do something, they will. And this is giving them an opportunity to sample, and that is the opposite of all the public health work that's been done in Minneapolis and in Minnesota. We have always been leading this work for the nation. And so reversing folks' work for decades by grandfathering in one business, but really 65, it's not okay. Thank you.
Councilmember Rainville.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I do agree with Councilmember Vita that opening up the door for 65 operations to do the sampling is not a good idea. It would be a step backwards from our public health initiative, and I'm not willing to take that step backwards, so I'll be voting no on this amendment. And I appreciate your concern, Councilmember Chuck Tai, for empty businesses, but I just cannot vote to allow 65 tobacco shops to do sampling in the city.
Councilmember Cashman.
Thank you, President Payne. I was not at the Biz Committee where this was discussed. I was sick last week, so this is, I did watch the meeting, but this is kind of my first reading of this ordinance together, and I'm wondering if the city attorney or business licensing staff could clarify what category 65 businesses this does impact, because I'm a little confused if it's grandfathering one business or grandfathering 65 businesses.
Mr. Nielsen.
Thank you. President Payne, Councilmember Cashman. The draft of the amendment that I have before me, and the language highlighted in yellow does qualify that the exemption, so to speak, shall only apply to qualifying license holders as of the date which offered sampling, and only so long as they retain and renew their license at the same premises and operate in compliance with laws and ordinances. So in theory, on its face, 65 might reflect the total number of licenses of that category, but the way this is drafted, it's reflective of anybody that is currently offering sampling as of the date. Whether that's a number, whether that's one or more, I don't know. Staff would have to speak to that and whether they can verify that. I imagine that might be, if there are more, could be difficult to determine or enforce, but that would be a staff question. But I think the language is qualified enough in terms of what it would allow, and that is likely some number less than 65.
Thank you. If I may, with a follow-up, President Payne.
Yes.
So further amendments to this ordinance would need to be made to actually grandfather in or allow for sampling at more establishments?
President Payne, Councilmember Cashman, that's correct. As on its face, the way it's drafted, it would only apply to a shop currently licensed in good standing as of April 1st of this year that offers sampling. And then it's the retention of that license on that same business premises.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Vice President Chuck Tai.
Yes, thank you, President Payne, and appreciate the question you asked here, Councilmember Cashman. I think the operative part that City Attorney Nielsen spoke to was that as of April 1st, backdated, right? So earlier this month, a business that has this type of license and offers sampling, which in our conversations with business licensing does apply to this one business that offers sampling, while those other 64 have the option of doing that if they aren't as of April 1st. A date that has already passed, then they're not eligible to start offering sampling. So this is not expanding a use that businesses would then have the opportunity to exploit or take advantage of. This is saving, this is preventing another empty storefront in my community. Thank you.
Seeing no one else in queue, I will ask the clerk to call the roll on this amendment.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
No.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Kotsky.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
No.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
No.
Vice President Chuck Tai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 10 ayes and 3 nays.
That amendment carries. Next, we have item 12 on the agenda. Who's next in queue? Is this Councilmember Jenkins?
Thank you, President Payne. Yeah, I'm proud to be able to support this ordinance today. I have been involved in tobacco something wrong?
Mr. President, I think on this end, we're just clarifying. We're still back on item number 3, which is the underlying ordinance. We've approved one amendment,
Correct.
but we're back on item number 3.
Correct.
Okay.
You can continue. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. President. Proud to be able to support this tobacco ordinance, as I've been deeply engaged in tobacco cessation work for many, many years, decades in fact. And as Council Member Vito stated, Minnesota has been a leader in the Clean Indoor Act since the 1970s, and this is just another step to ensure that we are keeping our communities healthy and free from the oppression of big tobacco. Thank you.
Councilmember Vita.
Thank you, Chair. I also have an amendment to Councilmember Chucktide's amendment, and this amendment is just to remove the lounge for sampling. As I stated before, the sampling isn't actually sampling, it's purchasing and then smoking. And so this amendment has, the loophole has been closed in other cities in Minnesota, Arden Hills, Brooklyn Center, Falcon Heights, New Brighton, Roseville, Shoreview, Edina, and this amendment that I'm bringing forward would remove the seating lounge that's provided to customers while sampling. No customer or potential customer shall engage in sampling it will put a timeline on it, in excess of 15 minutes during a single visit or in excess of 15 minutes during any 60-minute time period. And tobacco that has not been purchased or obtained from the tobacco product shop during the visit, or the customer or potential customers may not sample it, lit, heated, or otherwise activated.
Councilmember Vita has introduced an amendment. Is there a second?
Second.
Next in queue is Councilmember Koski.
Thank you, President Payne. If I may just ask the author a quick question on this. Okay, Councilmember Vita, I know that in the original ordinance, which I will absolutely support today, in just conversations, there was some date requirements for one of the businesses that we're talking about in Ward 10. Could you just describe how this piece would relate to that? Do they have to adhere to this starting right away, or will this still be adherence starting in, I know you were giving them a year to comply. I just want to understand that.
Thank you, Councilmember Koski. That's a good question. And it would be that December 1st date, I think, is what we had for the original amendment. And so we will give them time to comply. It won't be effective immediately like the other parts of this amendment.
Thank you. I just want to make sure then that this is clear to everybody and that the clerks, that timing is clear for that amendment. Thank you.
Vice President Chugtai.
Thank you, Mr. President. I too have a question or a couple questions for Councilmember Vita. Was that
Go ahead.
permitted? I don't see any issues with this amendment. I'm happy to support it. And I don't. What I guess I'm not understanding is. For item number 2 over here, no customer or potential customer shall engage in sampling in excess of 15 minutes during a single visit or in excess of 15 minutes during a 60-minute period of time. How do you envision that being, how are we going to measure compliance here? Are we going to send in, our staff to just be in the tobacco lounge for an hour and make sure that any customer in there? Like we're going to set a clock for 15 minutes on each visitor?
Well, typically, Vice President Chuck Tide, that's not how it works for any business. When business licensing or inspections go in, they go in at a time. If they're being violated, the business gets violated. There's not going to be any specific policing of this business. There won't be a person standing outside of the door from the city of Minneapolis waiting on them to violate. But if they go in and there is a violation, they will be fined for that violation. So that's how it works.
I understand that. What I'm not understanding is like how do you envision this is actually going to be enforced at a day-to-day level in the business itself?
I envision that the business owner is going to comply with Minneapolis policy because they're a good business. That's what I envision.
Sure. Okay. Thanks.
Okay.
Is there any further discussion on this amendment? Councilmember Chowdhury.
This is just a point of clarification on my end, and maybe this is for the city attorney. I'm trying to understand, so does the amendment before us by Councilmember Vita conflict then with the amendment that we just passed by Councilmember Chugtai? Does this mean that the grandfathering is not going to happen if we put this motion on top of it? I'm just seeking a little bit more clarity.
President Payne, Councilmember Chowdhury. No, the amendment does not conflict on its face with the prior adopted amendment. State law provides an exception in the Clean Indoor Air Act for sampling of tobacco products. There's no further elaboration in state law about what that means. Cities have the ability to be more stringent and to adopt our own local ordinances in this area, which is what this proposal does. It defines sampling more narrowly, and so it still allows sampling, but under the definition as proposed. And so there's no conflict on its face between the two. In practice, would any affected business, a business that was perhaps grandfathered in by the prior amendment, would they view this as an effective prohibition or ban? I can't speak to that, but on its face, there is no legal conflict.
Seeing no further, Mr. Clerk.
Mr. President, I didn't know if the deputy attorney would make this comment. There was a question about effective date of this ordinance. The amendment that Council Vice President Chugtai brought forward does include the effective date retroactive to April 1st. That's been explained many times to grandfather in the one business that's in her ward. The ordinance itself doesn't provide a separate effective date, and so, of course, under the charter, it becomes effective if enacted by the council, if approved by the mayor, and then published. And so I don't know what the publication request on this is. That means the standard effective date would normally be next Saturday, unless there's been a request for an early signature. So the amendment, the entire ordinance and the amendment offered by VITA would become effective on publication. If you wish to delay that, there would have to be an amendment to change that date. So I just want to clarify for the body that an ordinance becomes effective after enacted by council, approved by the mayor, and published in the paper. And so this doesn't have a later effective date provided. So it would become effective once published.
Thank you for that clarification, Mr. Clerk. Councilmember Vita.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to also offer an amendment to make the effective date December 1st.
Second.
So there is an amendment to the amendment to change the effective date to December 1st. Is there any discussion on that amendment? Councilmember Vita, you want to speak to it? Okay. Seeing no discussion, Councilmember Chowdhury.
Thank you, President Payne. I just want to note that I'm having a hard time following all of the amendments that are happening. I feel like there's a vague question here for our business licensing and inspections team about, in practice, what happens to this business. So I think I'm going to just abstain from voting on amendments today because I don't feel
the clarity I need to take a vote.
Thank you, Councilmember Chowdhury. Any other discussion on the amendment to the amendment? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Abstain.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Vice President Shugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 12 ayes and 1 abstention.
That carries and that amendment is adopted. We are now on the underlying amendment. Vice President Chugtai.
I'll remove myself from queue.
Okay. Any other discussion? Councilmember Chavez.
Yeah, I would just like to hear. So there's a lot happening, a lot of amendments, and I would like if the Council Vice President can talk about the underlying motion. And given that this is in her ward, I would like to hear her opinion.
Vice President Chugtai, would you like to speak to that?
Sure. So this motion is not mine. It's Councilmember Vita's, and it is like the amendment that I offered was approved by this body, and now we have this motion from Councilmember Vita. And as I'm reading this again, and trying to understand the impact of what this is going to do to the business that we are trying to protect in. That I am trying to keep in my ward. I don't understand. I don't think that this is. I think this is like effectively doing the same thing that that my amendment was trying to prevent. So I don't know. I really want to support it, but I don't know that I can today.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Thank you, President Payne. I will be supporting this amendment. I think what it does, the city attorney explained it, it provides a set of rules that define sampling, which is undefined in the state statute, and it provides some limitations. So if you want to come to this place and purchase a cigar, you have up to an hour, I think, as this thing states, to sample 15 minutes. It would be like any store that is selling tobacco products. They're not supposed to sell to people under 21. But we don't know that until business licensing goes in periodically and does checks. It's the same thing. So people can come to Anthony's, I think that's the store we're talking about, purchase cigars, because that's what I think he's in business for. I didn't know he had a place to come smoke cigars. He has a place to sell cigars. And then, so he can still do that. There's no impact on his ability to sell cigars. What is impacted is the ability to sit there and smoke cigars. And that is limited to, I'm not clear on the 15 minutes to an hour, but it seems like there is a limitation on how long people can sit there and smoke. And it's up to Anthony to abide by the laws that have been created by this body. And if he, doesn't enforce those laws, eventually business licensing will figure that out. So I am supportive of this amendment today, and I hope my colleagues can support it as well.
Councilmember Osman.
Thank you, Council President Payne. I'm confused, and I'm sure the public is confused. I'm the chair of Biz Committee, and I was not available at that time. But this is confusing. There's so many amendments flying around. I have plenty of questions with the underlying ordinance that raises many questions for me. How do we go from $10.43 to $15 at one time? For me, if I, maybe given a time or given a year that this could be effective in each year as we go by, but looks like this is going to be probably one of the highest. Will be the highest price in the country. New York, I believe, is like $12, $13. I am not sure, but I just have many questions. How do we get this number from $10 to $15 cigarette? People can just drive across the St. Louis Park and buy whatever cigars they want. I don't know if we're really making the perfect policy here. Too many things are confusing. I'm seeing that sampling, and how do you sample cigars without lighting it up? It's just, and remove the launch. I heard from the author. It's so many confusing. So I would like to make a motion to send back this to the committee to clean this up and come back a better option. Thank you.
Councilmember Osman has moved to refer this back to committee. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion to refer back to committee, properly seconded. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Cashman.
Thank you, President Payne. I support this ordinance, and I will support, the final version of it. But I think it's wise for us to do our due diligence in committee and to work through amendments in committee so we don't have the longest city council meetings every time. So I support that motion to refer it back.
Councilmember Wansley.
Thank you, Council President Payne. I also will be supporting the delay. While I'm appreciative that CMV took on such a significant issue, I am also concerned about some of the aspects of the ordinance and would like to see if there's space for colleagues to do some work to fine tune it before it's ultimately passed. I would name for me, I'm also concerned about how we got to the rates. Specifically, I saw Councilmember Rainville bring forth the amendment and couldn't really provide an explanation of how we landed at 15. Also, I've been in conversations with staff about some of the unintended consequences of regulating cigarettes while leaving its e-cigarettes alone. And while that might not be the intention, it does feel like we're signaling that e-cigs are basically the preferred nicotine of choice or product, despite them also having negative health impacts, and knowing a lot of young people also use vapes and e-cigs as well. So I would love to see how we can also be responsive to that matter and really get into a place where the ordinance does feel comprehensive. So I would definitely also appreciate more time to engage with both my constituent staff, the authors, and health professionals before taking a final vote on this.
Councilmember Vita.
Well, first off, this ordinance is as comprehensive as it gets. I don't know what is confusing. We were speaking to an amendment that I brought forward. One amendment, not more than one. An amendment that I brought forward that others have passed in other cities to regulate more, as our city attorney said, to put actual regulations on that loophole at the state level. So I don't know what's confusing about that. What I'm confused about is why we would send something back that came up last year. We were going to take a vote last year. There was some oversight on an issue, and it's come back again. I understand that there may have been questions out of Biz, but no, only one council member has reached out to me about questions, with questions since the Biz committee, since this issue came up again in Biz, because it did come before us last year and last term. So I really don't understand what the confusion is. I would love for us to just take a vote. If it's a hard vote, then just say no or say yes or whatever you want to say. But I don't understand that that the confusion, I definitely don't understand why we wouldn't take a vote on this today and prolong something that advocates have been working on for years. They're here today. They have been following this since last year when we had to reschedule this. I don't get it. And then lastly, I don't, this just feels like hypocrisy. My argument for Uber and Lyft was the people in North Minneapolis use this service and want to keep it. And majority of this council said, whatever, we're still going to vote. And now we're
Please keep your
doing
comments
this.
focused on the underlying
Don't tell
motion.
me what to keep my comments focused on.
Decorum, please.
Thank you. Like I said, the hypocrisy. I'm confused at how we're here with a public health concern and we don't put into consideration the people I represent in North Minneapolis who are worried about getting to their jobs and to get their kids to school every day.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Thank you, Chair Payne. I feel like we're in a spot where we can get to passage of a really good ordinance. It just looks like it needs a little bit more time in committee and a little bit more discussion with advocates. There have been a couple people in my community that I've reached out to that have done the work around addressing the issues, the health issues from big tobacco, and they're interested in engaging with me further. I'm sensitive to the fact that there's multiple members of our council that are sitting on the business housing and zoning committee that want to spend some more time on different aspects of this ordinance. For me, just today, individually as a council member who supports this effort and wants to see the reduction of tobacco users, especially younger folks, I want to make sure that I understand all of the impacts of our ordinance. And if it means just going through the cycle for 2 more weeks so we can engage and have conversations and figure out the best path forward so we can have a strong and potentially unanimous passage, that's what I feel like I can support. So I think it is a smart and wise decision for us just to take a beat, take a second to go through committee. I see that we have many members of the public who care deeply about this issue. I would love to engage with you on it and hear your perspectives. I think this also offers up a forum to folks that are outside of this room to also engage with council members as we take a couple more weeks if this motion to refer passes.
Councilmember Ellison.
Thank you, Council President. I understand the discussion and respect everybody's perspective on this. I definitely feel like what we're discussing here could be passed today. I've heard basically 2 issues. One, which has already been addressed, which is the provision for sampling and making sure that businesses are not sort of hit with a new regulation immediately that they can't, meet. So that's been addressed. The other concern I've heard is around the minimum rate. If folks want to revert it back, there is at least in a previous draft, a minimum rate that was there. In the spirit, some of the committee time management was brought up, and so I'll just say, committees, especially the Biz Committee, getting really robust, really insane, and so I am also eager to not add another long discussion topic to the Biz agenda, as we've got a couple of agendas on the docket through May that are going to be robust, that are going to be probably hours long, and so if I would. If it gets sent back to committee, obviously we'll take it up in committee. I do wonder, though, given that there are 2 issues that seem pretty straightforward to me. I respect that folks are maybe getting a little lost in the details, but they seem pretty straightforward to me. I do think that this is work that we could complete, relatively easily here today, and that would allow us to be done with this work and move on to other work. So that's my perspective for today. If it comes back to committee, I don't think it'll be too much of an issue. But I'm hearing 2 basic issues, and I think we could resolve them today. That's my perspective.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I echo. I don't need to restate. Councilmember Ellison, I think, laid it out pretty clearly. It is pretty straightforward, these amendments and an effective date. But I do want to remind my colleagues that one of the things we all agreed to move forward to the next biz committee, along with, I think, 6 public hearings next week, is the TNC analysis from PAR. I'm not on this committee, but I plan to be there, and I have some questions about it, and I imagine others do as well. So I think that will be a long item, and so that's just kind of a warning in advance. I don't really see that there would be a problem in moving forward on this today, but that's just my perspective. Thanks.
Councilmember Cashman.
Thank you. I'm also sensitive to the need for having Biz Committee really dedicated to that topic. And I did want to ask, did we vote yet on, so we voted on Vita's amendment to the amendment of the effective date? Yes. So can we go back to that and work through that before we consider this motion to refer back to committee? Okay, so I'm going to keep this conversation here today, and I will not support the motion to refer back to committee.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Thank you, Chair Payne. I appreciate Councilmember Ellison's remarks about our committee that's ahead of us. I do also want to be able to spend time on the TNC aspect, and it is, from our agenda setting, it is a long committee. It is probably going to go right until the time that we need to be out of the chambers for the following meeting. So I have an openness, if we're able to do the committee work at full council today for people to get clarity, I'm happy to do that. I will say I am a little confused about what is the impact of the December date change versus what we had in April 1st. So if we want to engage in committee work, that's something I have an openness to.
Councilmember Osmond.
Thank you, Council President. I'll keep the motion. Being the chair of the Biz Committee, we can figure out the scheduling. So I think it's fair for us to do the work where it's appropriate to do. And yes, Councilmember Allison raised a couple very important points. If we can decide 2 different things, how do we get to the $15 and can the businesses that are already operating continue to operate and not run out of business? So for those money questions, I don't think they could be answered here today or have a time to do that. So I would like to keep that motion, get the support and send it back and let us figure out how we will run the schedule of Biz Committee and the timing. That is something clerk and I and co-chair can figure that out. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Osmond. I'm going to call on the clerk to offer some clarifying information.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I'm going to ask Deputy Attorney Nilsson to tag team with me to make sure I get this correct. The proposal that came out of committee related to this item has been amended successfully by Vice President Shugtai. As she explained at length, that entire amendment essentially provides a grandfather clause for one business that's in Ward 2. And the attorney can speak to that if I'm incorrect on what that amendment did. The amendment that Councilmember Vita has offered would amend the definitions section, and as part of that amendment would provide for certain prohibited uses within that definition that would be applicable to all businesses in this industry, in this sector, offering these products effective December 1st. That means that the grandfathered business in Ward 10 also would be subject to the new definitions and standards within the VTAW amendment as of December 1st. Until then, it would not be. So the business in Ward 10 would have an exception permanently for the use of a sampling operation, provided it had been doing that in April 1st, but then the definitions as amended by Councilmember Vita, if approved, which again has not been passed, but if that were to become effective, if that amendment were adopted by this body, that would become applicable to all such businesses, including the one in Ward 10, on the effective date, December 1st. So That's what's in front of the body now. We also have a motion to refer this back to the Business, Housing, and Zoning Committee, and I will point out that because the Chugtai amendment passed, the ordinance that came out of committee with that amendment would be referred back, but the amendment that is currently in play by VETA would not. It would have to be brought back up at committee. And so that's what we'd be referring back. So hopefully that clarifies where we are in the process, what the two amendments would do, as the attorney indicated, not in conflict on their face. There's just, I would say, from now until December 1st, an additional period where this one business in Ward 10 would have an additional ability to do certain approved functions within its premises. And then as December 1st, if that were to pass, would not. If this is sent back to Biz, then the Chugtai amendment goes with it. The VETA amendment does not. And Mr. Nielsen, have I missed anything in terms of?
The city clerk is correct. I agree. The question that we had was the December effective date, which, again, the intent of the author, Councilmember VETA, we believe applied just to the sampling definition. I'd rather just refer to it as a definition of sampling rather than a prohibition, because it still allows sampling, but it's defined specifically in how that is allowed. But that definition would take effect December 1st, and so the effect of Councilmember Chugtai's motion is that any affected business through the exemption language of her motion would be able to conduct sampling as they've been allowed or as they have, but as of December 1st, you would have to comply, as will all businesses, with a narrower definition.
Thank you for that clarification. Councilmember Wansley.
Thank you, Council President Payne. I see definitely now a lot more clarity around the sampling piece. It seems like there is a level of energy to do some of the committee work and get to a place of passage here. I'm also on board with that, but I do have a question that could likely help me get there for Councilmember Rainville, and specifically the amendment that got us to 15. Can you share where that figure came from and how you landed there?
If I may, Council President.
Councilmember Rainville.
Thank you. Yes, I offer that amendment because I'm on the Biz Committee and Councilmember VETA is not. So I did that on her behalf. So, and perhaps the best person to answer this would be Councilmember VETA.
Councilmember VETA, would you like to speak to that?
Yes, thank you. Councilmember Wansley, thank you for the question. The number comes from the data that shows when you raise the price, the number of smokers go down, and there's a percentage related to the dollar amount that you raise the price of smoking to. I worked with our staff in the health department to, we looked at the different figures, right, like around smoking tobacco prices in the city of Minneapolis in particular. Like right now, there's stores that sell products for $11. There's other stores that sell the same product for $13. So we have this number at 15 with the hopes of lowering rates of smoking, stopping people from stopping kids from starting to smoke. And that is the number that we've come up with based on what prices people already pay for tobacco products in Minneapolis.
Thank you for that clarity. So was the understanding, or was there any research done also from staff that said that $10 originally would not be sufficient enough in deterring smokers, and that the $5 extra would do more?
Absolutely. And that is just how it goes, right? Like if the price was $5 and we raised it to 10, we know that people are going to quit because the price went up. And so that is where the number is coming from. Raising the price always lessens the number of people who smoke.
Okay. And so $10 was the original price as of now?
Well, that is the minimum price. There are people who don't charge $10. There are people who charge $13.
Okay. That provides some clarity, and just want to make sure too if there's any staff who could speak to some of the studies that you've seen across the country where we've seen some of that percentage correlation.
Is Evelyn here? I'm sorry, Evelyn, I can't see you. There's a big post.
Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you, Chair Payne and Councilmember VETA. I apologize. Could you please repeat the question for me?
Yeah, I just want to know some, research points, key points where you've seen other places or the cities that have done similar increases in like the correlation towards the decrease in smokers?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to this. So based on some initial research, you can find a pack of cigarettes downtown for $13.50, and studies have shown that for every 10% increase, there's a decrease among adults who smoke of 3 to 5% and youth of 6 to 7%. And so a 10% increase on a pack of cigarettes that cost $13.50 would bring that pack price to $14.85, and so nominally to $15. I would also like to say that our neighbors in St. Paul did raise the minimum pack price to $10 and found that that was gravely insufficient given inflation to cause any change in smoking rates. And so that's why, given inflation over the last couple years, we think that $15 is a good, reasonable minimum price for these commercial tobacco products to really have a public health effect.
That's great clarity. I wish that would have provided in biz, and definitely helps to enlighten me of how we landed there. So thank you, staff. Thank you, Councilmember Vital, for that question.
Thank you.
Okay.
It was provided in biz.
Let's use the queue, everyone. Is there anybody else in queue to speak on the motion to refer this back to committee? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just to clarify, this is, as you mentioned, to refer back to the Biz, Housing, and Zoning.
We just heard our.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vital.
No.
Councilmember Ellison.
No.
Councilmember Koski.
No.
Councilmember Wansley.
Nay.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Nay.
Councilmember Palmisano.
No.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
No.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
No.
Vice President Shugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 5 ayes and 8 nays.
That fails, and we are back to the underlying motion, the Vital amendment that is narrowing the definition of sampling. We have Councilmember Vital in queue for that.
I'm sorry, I'm not in queue. I already spoke to it.
Okay. Anyone else want to speak to the amendment? Seeing none. Oh, Councilmember Chowdhury.
Just point of clarification on this. So I'm hearing different things up here. With the April 1st motion that Council Vice President made, it creates this exception for that cigar store. With this including the December 1st deadline, that means by the time we head to December 1st, that exception no longer is in play. That's kind of my understanding. No? I would love to get some clarity from the clerks or council members.
Councilmember, I'll ask the clerk, the city attorney.
President Payne, Councilmember Chowdhury, yes, I believe that's correct. Under our current ordinance, there is no definition of sampling. The amendment, the proposed amendment defines sampling in a very specific way that takes effect December 1st. And so the so-called grandfathered provision would allow for sampling to continue as apparently one business has been doing or has been allowed to do in the fashion that they've done it. But as of December 1st, that would have to comply with, should the amendment be successful, with the new definition.
Councilmember Ellison.
And just for the clerks and the attorneys, just to clarify, the April 1st deadline prevents other businesses from adopting this practice, new businesses. So that's what the 2 different dates accomplish.
Thank you for that clarification. City Attorney, do you want to?
Sorry, Council President Payne, I agree with Councilmember Ellison.
Okay. Is there any other discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Council President, I see Councilmember Cashman.
Councilmember Cashman.
I'm so sorry. The clarifying question I want to ask here is about number 2, 15 minutes during a single visit or in excess of 15 minutes during any 60-minute time period. Can the amendment author explain what in excess of 15 minutes during a single visit or in excess of 15 minutes during a 60-minute time period What's the difference between those two 15 minutes?
The difference is that the person won't be able to sit down and just smoke a cigar, right? Like, it really is about sampling. I don't know if you saw in Biz, a lot of people who spoke, not a lot, a couple people who spoke to this place being a place where they go and congregate with their friends and they smoke. And I will also say, this is how other cities, I think there's 8 in the metro, who have closed this loophole. This is how they've defined sampling also.
Thank you.
Councilmember Wansley.
Thank you, President Payne. And just cognizant of also people who have different type of mobility needs or disabilities, I would actually like to motion to strike Part 1 in light of people might need to sit or have that type of accommodation. So making sure we're meeting the needs of accessibility, I would like to motion to strike that piece and keep the rest.
Councilmember Wansley has moved to strike item number 1. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
No.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
No.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
No.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
No.
Vice President Chugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 9 ayes and 4 nays.
That amendment carries. Next, we are on the underlying amendment. Is there any further discussion on that? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
On the VTAW amendment, on item number 3, Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember VTAW.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Vice President Chugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes on the amendment.
That amendment carries, and now we are on the underlying ordinance as amended. I have a queue in front of me. Is everybody still in queue for the main amendment, or do we want to call the roll? No. All right. Clerk, please call the roll.
Oh, no.
No, we are.
Councilmember Osman.
Oh, thank you so much. I guess we're gonna do a lot of work in here today. I think I made my point clear that thank you for the person that came here to explain raising the price from $10.43, I think. Was that the original? What is it? $10.43 to $15. I think that's a big jump. And I would like to see it more extended to different years. To do that, this is going to be the highest in the nation, and I think that when we're making policies, and we should really think about so many different ways of, I don't know what percent, that's 30% or 40%, whatever the math is, it's a big jump. And that is a concern for me. I would like to make a motion to strike that $15 and come back to the original price. That is my motion. Thank you.
Councilmember Osman has moved to amend to the original price, which was $10.40, 43 cents. $10.40. Is there a second on that motion?
Mr. President, I'm sorry. Amendments under the rules must be in writing, and the reason why is because this is listed throughout the ordinance. It's not like we can do one little section. And so I'm happy to help. I'm sure that we can try and get that if we want to put this item aside. But it would be impossible for us to capture all of the places that this might be listed with an oral motion.
So there's no second on that motion. Somebody can motion it back to committee to do that thorough work and have it prepared in writing, or else we can go back to the underlying ordinance as currently amended, and I'll call on Councilmember Paul Masano.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll be supporting this ordinance today, and I just wanted a chance to explain why from my own perspective. The use of tobacco products is hazardous to our health, and it's a crisis that's indisputable. We need to address it at all levels, including local levels, including habits of use, coupons, and pricing. And I applaud Councilmember Vita for doing that with her work on this today. I've been hearing from people who think that raising the price of cigarettes will disproportionately impact, low income, BIPOC community members, and small business owners, and they're right. This will. I have someone in my life, Michael, who uses tobacco as a way to avoid other substances. In other words, he's an alcoholic. He smokes more, he drinks less. He lives on food stamps. He has no easy ability to go to the suburbs to shop. He fills out surveys to get PayPal money, and most often smokes Lucky Strikes or Winston with the paper coupons in the mail because they're the cheapest. SA and Holiday have registered discounts if you buy 2 packs sometimes. All of my knowledge of this comes because of Michael. And this local ordinance will greatly impact him. I feel for him, and yesterday shared lunch with him to make sure he would hear me say, I will support him in whatever way I can, but I am not sorry. I don't find it appropriate to bring a carve-out for Michael or people like him, where this is the lesser evil by far in his life. That's not going to help the broader, longer-term purpose of this effort. I am not sorry to be in support of this if it helps even one person stop using tobacco, one person use less tobacco, or one person stop from starting tobacco use. That's worth it to me. This is for the greater public good of our community and our residents. I know it's easy for me to sit up here and say that as a non-smoker, but it's the truth. The only way we're going to break our dependence on tobacco is if we make some really hard changes. This time of transition is going to be difficult, and it may last years, but the payoff is that people of all ages could live a tobacco-free life. That is good for their health and for all of us. The payoff is also that those people who can least afford tobacco products, even before this ordinance, will benefit by their income no longer going to tobacco, but rather for necessities of life, or maybe even another luxury or two. If there are other ideas for what the city can do to support weaning off tobacco, and I greatly appreciated Evelyn's presentation at committee last week, if we could better help those who will be impacted by this ordinance, I'm all ears. I would be happy to support additional programming whose goal is to prevent or cease tobacco use. So thank you for giving me an opportunity to explain my vote.
Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you, Council President Payne. I'll be voting in favor of this ordinance. I think this is something that's really important to protect the public health of our residents in the city of Minneapolis. Proud of the work that city staff has been doing for the past years to get us to this point. I actually see this fight with big tobacco and its industry similar to the big fight with Uber and Lyft, where we're trying to protect residents in the city of Minneapolis. And I see the same scare tactics that big tobacco is trying to use with this ordinance as the same scare tactics that people with big business and corporate interests have when we're trying to pay a minimum wages to Uber and Lyft drivers. So I see this fight
Please stay on topic.
Similar, and we'll be voting in favor of it. Thank you very much.
Councilmember Cashman.
Thank you. I guess I don't see Councilmember Vita here, and I'm going to be supporting this. I just want to know if we can go further with vapes. I'm a young person. I'm 30. my friends don't smoke cigarettes. They smoke vapes. Like, young people smoke vapes. So if I would love to see this ordinance go further specifically on that issue.
Councilmember Chavez.
Council President Payne, I'd like maybe a question for, we did all agree we're going to do full council committee work, so maybe I have a question for the city attorney. What is, to address Councilmember Cash, I'm serious, like we did say, we're going to do committee work in full council. I'm ready to be here all day to address tobacco industry, big tobacco, to protect our residents in the city of Minneapolis. And I want to address Councilmember's question. Can our city attorneys let us know why that is not included in the ordinance and what it would take to include that to protect more residents in Minneapolis?
Council President Payne, Councilmember Chavez, that might be best directed to the author. I realize there are some potential legal considerations here, and I do have their Assistant City Attorney Fossey is here in the audience, who is the biz liaison and might be able to speak to it. But the primary author of this proposal might have the best understanding at the moment, to be honest.
Councilmember Vita, would you like to speak to that or have staff speak to that?
I would love for Evelyn to come back up and speak to it, please.
Thank you.
Council Chair Payne, council members. Yes, we've had some conversation with city staff this week about why vape products are not specifically included in the minimum price, and that is because of the far range in cost of vape products. So they range anywhere from a few dollars to $25 to upwards of $30, and so it's very difficult to put a minimum price on those. However, this ordinance will get at young people who use these products. As Councilmember Palmisano spoke to, this ordinance will disallow price discounts and coupons, and that is one of the primary ways that commercial tobacco companies use to target these products, especially at young people. Much of these price discounts and coupons are done through social media and email and things like that, and by disallowing those, it will not allow companies to lower those costs, and so it will get at those products.
Thank you so much, Evelyn.
Council President, if I may.
Councilmember, we have Councilmember Jenkins back, and she is in queue first. Go ahead, Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you, Council President Payne. I was still on queue. In regards to the answer to that question, it still seems like, yes, I understand that vapes have a variety of different prices, but so does tobacco. And it seems like we could still add vapes into this ordinance, and that is something that I would like to explore with this committee, well, council, but it seems like we're committee today. So I think I would love some legal advice from our city attorneys, our city clerk, on how we can amend this ordinance. Maybe we can get something drafted in paper to include vapes into this, and then maybe we can have that conversation to vote on it, because I understand we have to have it in writing.
Mr. Nelson.
Council President Payne, Councilmember Chavez, that to me, with the complexities involved, likely difficulties in definitional construction, and other things as mentioned by the staffer from the health department, I would suggest if that's the will of the council to pursue, that it be just a completely separate ordinance package that could be introduced and pursued through the committee process in the normal fashion after consideration here.
Okay. Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you, Council President Payne. I guess we can consider that in the future. It feels like we're doing committee work, but yeah, overall, very supportive of this this ordinance. I want to thank our city staff for their incredible work on protecting our residents here in Minneapolis. I think it's a good step forward.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Thank you, President Payne. I was just going to comment as a former smoker. One of the reasons why I quit 8 years ago now was the price of cigarettes. If you travel around the country, New York City, you can't buy a pack of cigarettes for under $18. Chicago, $17 some places. Los Angeles, I think they're up to $20. It's so, and you know, we keep saying the price is this. It's the minimum that you can charge. 1043 is the minimum. There are places, as been stated here in Minneapolis, that sell cigarettes for $13.50. I'm sure $14. And so, while we might have the highest minimum, there are places that are selling cigarettes well above $15. And so I think we're taking a step. I'm proud that we are hopefully going to pass this ordinance today to be able to prevent some people from starting to smoke and hopefully encourage and inspire others to stop smoking. Thank you.
Councilmember Vita.
Thank you, Chair Payne. I just wanted to first say I am so appreciative of the staff and the advocates that have worked on this. This has been, the price discounting this work has been going on for several years now. So thank you all for staying at it. And Evelyn, you are crushing it today. Thank you so much for your willingness to get up here and answer the questions. I know you and I have had many discussions over 4 years about a lot of what is being asked today. So thank you all so much for your commitment and your dedication. I understand the concerns of my colleagues when they say, you know, the price is going up and people are reaching out and they're concerned about the pricing. I get that too. I've gotten that for decades from folks who are afraid of the price. But I'll just share a personal story. My sister is a smoker. My sister's been a smoker since we were teenagers. A few years ago, my sister was hospitalized and in a coma for a long time. And when she woke up, we were told she was going to have to learn how to walk again and do a lot of things. She was in the coma because she had a brain aneurysm. The brain aneurysm was related to smoking. When I was a teenager, I lost my father to smoking, so this work has always been personal for me. I grew up in neighborhoods where tobacco companies targeted Black folks at check cashing places, at the welfare office, at nightclubs. I'm aware of all the music festivals and things that the tobacco industry invested in to target Black folks, people who look like me, my family members. And so when I work on a policy that raises the price knowing that people like my sister will quit smoking, I'm proud of that. I'm excited about that. I'm excited that this council is taking this public health crisis serious, because that's what it is. We pay lots of money for smokers. Smoking is the #1 cause of death in this country. We don't see the bodies of people lying out on the streets when they die of smoking-related illness, and they do every single day. We lose people in our communities to smoking at high numbers. So I'm proud of us for doing this. I'm happy that we did do the committee work today, if that's what was necessary to get this done. I'm hoping for unanimous support on this because it's important work, and it sends a message to community members, especially those underserved community members, that this council cares about them and want them to be the healthiest. So thank you, colleagues.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Chowdhury.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to take some time to share why I will be supporting this ordinance today. I have an uncle who passed away in 2004 due to lung cancer. He was a heavy smoker. I have many family members who have struggled with nicotine addiction, and I've seen the ways that it's impacted their life and how they're dealing with those adverse health effects later in life, especially as working people that also have many other things up against them. I also, as a young person, I mentioned this in committee, when I was in college, we were the generation that I'm a part of, Generation Z or Millennial Gen Z cusp, however you want to put it, was on track to being a smoke-free generation. And I watched Juul come into the University of Minnesota campus, and it changed everything. And I was a Juul smoker, and that led to smoking cigarettes. And I'm still in an ongoing struggle with nicotine addiction myself. It's something that I feel open about. And I wanted to just share with this committee that young people who vape are 4 more times likely to start smoking cigarettes. They switch in between it. And so I do hope that in this public health work, since we're taking it on as a council, we think about 2 things. What are the ways that we're addressing vaping and this new form of tobacco cessation or nicotine cessation? And then it's really hard for working people to quit smoking cigarettes. Nicorette is really expensive. The tools that are available are really expensive, and that's oftentimes the reason why working people continue to struggle with addiction, even if they want to go towards a path of sobriety around nicotine, even as they're feeling negative impacts on their health. That was a case for my uncle. That's a case for a few other family members, and I hope that the author of this ordinance would be interested in working on something with me and other members of this council that would address that. I know that it's a big concern for working communities here. So that's a little bit of a picture of why I'll be supporting this. I'm also interested in, and probably in committee, in figuring out a way that we can track how this has impacted residents in terms of reducing smoking, or just seeing what we can follow to understand the impact of raising the prices, and just have an evaluation tool available.
Councilmember Ellison.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just wanted to thank my colleagues for us getting this done today. There was good information in committee. There was good discussion in committee. And I feel like, not everybody who had an opinion on this ordinance is on the committee, right? Not everybody could attend the meeting. I was never, me personally, as somebody on the committee, I was never going to bring either one of these amendments to this ordinance because they, not my issue. But in listening to Councilmember Vita, understanding that, we all sort of pick our lane, and none of us really understand the public health approach to this issue the way that Councilmember Vita does. At the same time, policy, yes, sorry, yes, some of us do, but Councilmember Jenkins, but also, policy can be sort of a hammer and nail situation, right? It can be a broad tool. And so similarly, none of us are going to understand the specifics of our ward dynamics as well as Councilmember Chuktai does here, right? And so I think that both of these amendments were needed. I think that this discussion was needed. And I also want to remind folks that it was, at the end of the day, one amendment, right? It was an amendment and an amendment to that amendment. So it was essentially one amendment. A lot of discussion regarding that, but I wouldn't say that this classifies as sort of in-depth committee work. A lot of discussion around that one amendment, which is maybe cause for us to self-reflect, but one amendment. So I think it was appropriate for us to do this here. I think it's good it was good for us to have discharged this from committee and gotten this done today. So that's all. Thank you, Councilmember Vita, for authoring this, and I'm happy to support it.
Councilmember Rainville.
Thank you. Very briefly, thank you, Councilmember Vita, for your help. But I see Evelyn has left. Is there anybody from Evelyn's department here? Oh, are you still here? Oh, okay. Just thanks for all the hard work. Without the feedback from our professional staff, our subject matter experts, we would not have had this coming together today. So thank you so much for being here, for all your hard work. Walk away here with a big smile on your face.
Okay, seeing no one else in queue, I will ask the clerk to call the roll on the ordinance as amended.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Vice President Chugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries. And now we will move to item number 12 on the biz agenda, the basement. Councilmember Rainville, would you like to speak to that?
Yes, thank you. So I did speak at length at the biz community, so I will be very brief today. I am voting no against this. I had a community meeting where it became very evident that this basement, the original application was denied by us because of our staff research that they had an illegal tippling house in St. Paul. Our staff has said that the paperwork has changed, that they're convinced that the ownership is not the same. I do not agree with that. I also am voting no because our police department has not approved their safety plan. It's out of the downtown district, and with the shortage we have on police, the police do not feel that they can cover this adequately for the public safety of the residents in that neighborhood. So thank you for allowing me to speak. I will be voting no on this, and I would suggest to all of us that we have to start thinking about the limitations that our short staffing on the police department are going to cause. I think this is one of those issues where that short staff of our police department is a cause to say no. Thank you.
Councilmember Ellison.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just wanted to speak on this. We did have this in committee. We delayed it a cycle to get some clarity because I think, as I just mentioned, we all understand, sort of the intricacies of our ward dynamics. Councilmember Rainville brought some issues to our attention. I wanted to understand not only what the issues were, what the history was with this location, but also understand the council's recourse here. And I feel I discovered two things, and I 100% respect Councilmember Rainville holding his line. I think it's appropriate for each of us to do that for ward issues. But I also feel that what I learned was the applicant who we denied has no relation to the current applicant. I think that's sort of the biggest detail here for me is that the applicant who was denied, while the business's name is the same, the two have no relation. And staff went another step further in making sure, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but in adding in some of the conditions placed on this business, there actually can be no legal financial relationship with the previous owner and the new owner. It's not permitted. And so I think that staff really did its due diligence. There's a couple of other things. I think that staff really did its due diligence in making sure that this is a business that is going to be lawfully operating, that it's a business that doesn't have ties to past, sort of mispractice in how they operate their business. And I think that, it is still, I think it's a concern, a valid concern that there's not a safety plan here, but also the lack of a safety plan in this instance, and staff can correct me if I'm wrong, it does not give us any legal cause to deny the application. So I think that is just, I wanted to lay that out for my colleagues. When folks meet their state statutory requirement on issues like this, we don't have a lot of recourse to deny them unless there is a real clear-cut issue. And what I found here was that there wasn't one on paper. I think, again, complete respect to Councilmember Rainville for holding his line and saying, we've got to set a standard here. And the applicant did come to committee. I had a chance to address the applicant directly and said, look, this is your opportunity to prove people wrong. This is your opportunity to build a relationship with the neighbors. This is your opportunity to build a relationship with Councilmember Rainville and show that the previous owner is not representative of what you're trying to do in the business that you're trying to run here. So I just wanted to give my colleagues that context because I know that I didn't have it. It's why we delayed it a cycle. I do think that we should pass this out of council today, given those details. But again, by no means to disparage the due diligence that Councilmember Rainville's done and the position that he holds. Just wanted to explain to the public and to my colleagues why I'll be voting to support this license and pass it along.
Councilmember Wansley.
Thank you, President Payne. Also, thank you, Councilmember Ellison, for providing that context. I was very excited to see that we had the opportunity to support emerging Black-owned business, especially as someone who loves Afro beats and recognize we don't have a lot of those spaces in Minneapolis. It was great to see that we could have that right here in Northeast, and also recognizing this is an opportunity to practice what we preach, which we say we love supporting, small businesses, and we also want to make sure that our residents, especially those that are Black and brown and from other, diverse backgrounds, are able to also participants in creating small businesses. So I was really excited to see this opportunity come forward, and also see through the due diligence of committee members, make it very clear that the applicant and the intended business owners did everything right. Technically, they've met their legal obligations, and have demonstrated an interest to operate in full compliance with both state and local statute. So I was, definitely moved to not deny this applicant based off of, it seems like, other particular social concerns that have been articulated. I know from some of the meetings that Councilmember Rainville has had with his constituents, but really excited to see this business come forward, and, have an opportunity to support another Black-owned business here in Minneapolis. So thank you all, colleagues, for getting it to the finish line here.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm not sure if there's anybody here that could answer this, but my presumption would be new applicant, as is outlined here with the context of this conversation, new safety plan. So despite this business license being approved today, wouldn't it perhaps administratively not actually go into effect until there is a safety plan? And I ask that because these safety plans are very significant things. 10 years ago, this was about having off-duty officers as bouncers. It's not that anymore. I really like how the evolution of our safety plans have come about, and I'm just curious. It seems appropriate that a safety plan would be in place before we would allow a new business, even with an old name, to operate, and I too am excited about this business.
Councilmember Palmisano, are you looking for a staff opinion?
I'm looking for anybody with knowledge of this to be able to say, isn't this the way we do business around here?
Mr. Fussy.
Thank you. Through the president and council members, Joel Fussy from the city attorney's office. I don't believe that anyone from business licensing is here, although I do know, of course, that they've recommended approval on this matter. My understanding is that the safety plans, as part of the business plan, do go to the police department for comments. That's what happened in this case, even with the new applicant. There is not a requirement that the police department approve that for the license to go forward. And from my understanding from Ms. Lingo of business licensing is that the police department's comments on the safety plan were taken into account and that the conditions were developed kind of in response to that.
I see. Thank you. I think that's helpful.
Thank you. Councilmember Chowdhury.
Thank you, Chair Payne. I heard from Council Member Ellison that there's no legal basis for us to deny this license today, and I just wanted to offer maybe some more details from our city attorney on that and some clarity on, what that means.
Mr. Nielsen.
Yep. Council President Payne, Councilmember Chowdhury. It's always a little uncomfortable to opine on ultimate legal liability in a public forum like this. I'll just say this. That this is not a newly licensed premises. This has been licensed before for a liquor-related use. It's not an intensification, and it's not a nightclub under definition either. It's a limited, I believe it's a limited entertainment license, which differs from a nightclub. So it is none of these things. It's been licensed before. It's not intensification. It's a new applicant. And business licensing did ultimately, as Mr. Fussy noted, recommend approval of it with several conditions to address a potential adverse impact.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Thank you, President Payne. I am happy to be able to support this license today as the co-chair of Black Business Week for the past 4 years. I'm really excited to see a new person of color business African black business emerge in our city when so many parts of our city are losing businesses. You know, it's important to really to be able to support this effort. I was convinced by the conditions that were placed on the license that really do address some of the safety concerns. And yes, we have a shortage of police officers, but we still continuously have new establishments opening. And so that cannot be a rationale for denying this license today. And as has been noted by Councilmember Ellison and City Attorney, there's no legal basis to deny this application. So,
Councilmember Cashman.
Thank you. I also attended the briefing with Councilmember Ellison and appreciated the business licensing conditions that they put on the business for some of the safety concerns that Councilmember Rainville raised. And I'm also just really excited to welcome more entertainment downtown. This will be just 5 blocks away from City Hall down on Washington Ave. So if any council members want to go and dance to add an Afrobeats club, I would be more than happy to join you.
Councilmember Ellison.
So 2 things. One is that, you know, the city attorney's comments reminded me that sometimes I will project so much confidence up here that I forget to give the disclaimer. I'm not a lawyer. I do pretend to know a lot about the law when I'm up here sometimes, but not a lawyer. Second is I don't believe we've made a motion to pass this, so I would like to go ahead and make that motion.
Second.
And that's all. Thank you very much.
That item's been properly moved and seconded. I see no one left in queue. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
No.
Vice President Shugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 12 ayes and 1 nay.
That carries, and the full business report has been adopted. Colleagues, it is 12:05, and I think for the sake of hangriness, as we continue the rest of this business, I'm going to make a motion to recess for. I'm recessing until 12:35 to give folks an opportunity to grab some food.
Excellent.
I had a meeting upstairs with the mayor.
The time is now 12:41, and I will ask the clerk to call the roll to verify the presence of a quorum.
Councilmember Chavez.
Present.
Councilmember Vita.
Present.
Councilmember Ellison is absent. Councilmember Koski.
Present.
Councilmember Wansley.
Present.
Councilmember Jenkins is absent. Councilmember Palmisano is absent. Councilmember Chowdhury.
Present.
Councilmember Cashman.
Present.
Councilmember Osman.
Present.
Councilmember Rainville is absent. Vice President Shugtai.
Present.
President Payne.
Present.
There are 9 members present.
Let the record reflect that we have a quorum. Welcome back. The next item of business is report from our Climate and Infrastructure Committee, which is presented by that committee's chair, Councilmember Cashman.
Thank you, President Payne. The Climate and Infrastructure Committee is bringing forward 10 items today. Number 1 is the appointment of Public Works Director. Number 2 is Douglas North Residential Resurfacing Project Approval and Assessment. Number 3, Fremont Alley Reconstruction Project Approval and Assessment. Item number 4 is the Lowry Avenue Northeast Street Construction Project Phase 1. I'm going to move to refer this item back to committee after conversations with the Ward 1 council member about some of the businesses that came to the public hearing that day and wanting to do our due diligence and make sure that we have time to talk with each of them about their concerns. Public Works did set up a communications plan with those folks, but we want to give this a couple more weeks to make sure that happens. Number 5 is Near North Residential Resurfacing Project Approval and Assessment. Number 6, Minnesota Department of Transportation, Trunk Highway 121 improvements. 7, Cooperative Agreement with Hennepin County for the Hiawatha Lake Intersection Improvements Project. Number 8, Agreement with U.S. Internet for Hennepin Avenue South Reconstruction Project. Number 9, grant application to Federal Environmental Protection Agency through the Climate Pollution Reduction Grant Program to advance home weatherization, commercial energy efficiency, and renewable energy deployment. And number 10, Americans with Disabilities Act Transition Plan for Public Works 2024 update. So I will move approval of all items except number 4 and motion to refer item number 4 back to committee.
Thank you. Councilmember Cashman has moved approval of the committee's report with the motion to refer item number 4 back to committee.
Second.
With a proper second. I also want to note that we have been joined by Councilmember Vita, Councilmember Palmisano, Councilmember Rainville, and Councilmember Jenkins, and Mayor Fry. Welcome. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Palmisano.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm not looking to pull this item, but I do have some comments to be made for item number 6. Okay. Oh, hello. I didn't clean up for you over on this end.
Would you like to speak on item 6 now
that's all
or
right.
for a separate vote and discussion?
Yeah, I don't think I need a separate vote, just to a couple of comments.
Go ahead.
Trunk Highway 121 is in my, or rather between my and Councilmember Koski's wards to some extent, and I wasn't able to get to the committee where this was being said, or I'd have said my comments there. I can certainly understand the positives of this proposal. Reducing both of the roadways here down to 1 lane is a win in some aspects. Removal of 1.5 total miles of concrete and adding in more green space, those are good things. There are also negatives. We're perpetuating the underuse of this land for a higher purpose. We still have 2 hard surface one-way road segments that don't come together. This area has long been considered for its possibilities for future development. These possibilities are outlined in the 2006 South Lindale Corridor Master Plan, which is linked to our 2040 plan. Again, it's from 2006, and here we are in 2024 talking about resurfacing the road with no plans to do anything else. Hundreds of staff and volunteer hours were spent envisioning how this land could be put to better use. Of many ideas discussed, the concept of completely moving this road to the east and opening up the area to additional housing rose to the top. We all know that Southwest Minneapolis lacks affordable housing options. And well, here's our chance. Both the bicycle and the pedestrian advisory committees have passed resolutions expressing concern with continuing this use. We have roadways that maintain the look and feel of a rural trunk highway because of these bifurcated one-way lanes and a large chunk of land between them. By not reducing this to a single roadway, which we tried to explore, we continue to need to modify, repair, and maintain two separate roadways. We've lost an opportunity, I think, to improve crossing safety and comfort and reduce environmental impact. Developing here would help create a much more urban feel, which has been proven to calm traffic and add to the safety of pedestrians and cyclists. So I sort of question why we have these advisory committees if we don't listen to them sometimes. I keep hearing about how hard it would be to redevelop this area. It would require turnback from MnDOT. It would be assembling these individual parcels, and that is complicated. Even, I'm told, more complicated than Upper Harbor Terminal. It would take a great deal of infrastructure to set the table for development here. And I get it, and I understand it. But I also know that resurfacing this road now does not preclude development in the future, but that doesn't mean we can't try in the meantime. So I challenge us, as we move forward with this today, to not let this continue to be ignored. Let's get it into the CIP. Let's start working on identifying property owners, scoping these infrastructure upgrades, and doing something. So I will vote in favor of this today, but I want it to be clear, and I want it to be on the record, that I don't want MnDOT to resurface this road ever again. I don't want a future council discussing these same issues in another 10 or 15 years, and it might take us that long to get ready, but I ask us to please let's be ready when the time comes before us again. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Palmisano. I'll also note for the record, we've been joined by Councilmember Ellison. Councilmember Koski.
Thank you, President Payne, and thank you, Councilmember Palmisano, for bringing up the project and the master plan from 2006. As you know, I have lifted that out of the dungeons of City Hall and have dusted it off, and want to make sure that everybody is aware. I did clarify at the council meeting that we are, this does not preclude us, like Councilmember Palmisano said. I have been diligently working actually for the last almost 2 years because this is a top priority of mine. I actually am meeting again with Bachman's next week, who has secured a developer to support in this work. I have met with over a dozen individuals and done tours of Highway 121. And if anybody else would like to join, Councilmember Payne is actually coming with me in another week or so. But I have talked to our county commissioners. I have done ride-alongs with our park board commissioners. Senator Mohammed has joined me. And I actually was supposed to have a meeting with city staff at 1 o'clock to discuss the next steps on this project. And so I just want to be really clear that I am so dedicated to creating an area in the South Minneapolis where I believe in the report it said we could probably build about 300 units of housing. Now, talking to CPED, I believe we can probably do over 500 units of housing in this area. I have a complete vision. I'm happy to continue to share this, but I am doing my due diligence to collect and work with others so that we can move it forward. So, excited to continue those conversations, but also will be approving this because these are important additions that need to happen now, but it doesn't preclude us from continuing the work that I want to do forward.
Councilmember Osman.
Thank you, Council President. I want to thank the Chair, Cashman, and Council President for really thinking about and listening to the residents and the business owners and pushing back item 4 back to the community. And I want to thank Public Works staff for meeting with those businesses and really trying to put a plan together. It's very important that we consider businesses, especially cultural corridor businesses, before we start construction. Engagement is not a flyer or an email. It's in person, and it's going to the community and talking to what kind of effect this will have for the starting of construction at Holy Land in that area. So again, thank you, Chair and Council President.
Thank you, Councilmember Osmond. I'm assuming Mayor Fry is here to speak on the appointment of Mr. Sexton.
I am, Mr. President. Thank you so much for having me. I will be relatively brief, as I already spoke to the main reasons for appointing and approving Mr. Sexton to the Climate and through the Climate and Infrastructure Committee, and specifically for the position of Public Works Director. Mr. Sexton is the kind of leader that we need right now. He's a person that is extraordinarily forward-thinking, both in the areas of climate, where he is a national, if not international leader, and in the area of transportation and public works more broadly. He's the kind of person that can manage a team, make sure that he's getting the most out of every last one of our staff. And in this case, there are more staff in public works than nearly any department in the city. This is a really good next step for him as well, and we're really honored that you've chosen to take on this position. I won't speak to his resume or his accolades. You can read about those, and I'm certainly happy to answer any questions. But council members, thank you for the time, and I ask for your support and your affirmative vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Fry. Councilmember Cashman.
Thank you, President Payne. And if I might just second Mayor Fry's remarks about Tim Sexton, I'm really glad that you're taking this position. You know, being a public works director at the city isn't easy, but I really appreciate your background working in Washington, in Seattle, and also in Germany. I think there's so much to be learned from working in different contexts. And then in the last almost decade working for the Minnesota Department of Transportation and bringing a climate lens and an equity lens into transportation work at the state level, I think shows your commitment to forward-thinking transportation systems for the city of Minneapolis. And then just want to thank you for your openness to learn on solid waste. I realize that's not an issue area that you have worked on, and I really look forward to, touring the Hennepin Energy Recovery Center together, meeting with advocacy groups together on solid waste and working together on those issues.
Thank you, Councilmember Cashman. Any other discussion? Seeing none, I will ask the clerk to call the roll on the approval of the committee report, including the appointment of Mr. Sexton to the Public Works Director, as well as the referral of the Lowry Avenue Northeast back to committee.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osmond.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Vice President Chugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries, and that report is adopted. The next report is from our Budget Committee. The next report is from our Committee of the Whole, which will be presented by the committee's chair, Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Committee of the Whole is bringing forward 3 items. Item number 1 is authorizing a joint powers agreement with the, Okay, we're good. There is some corrections in this Committee of the Whole thing, so I'm going to have to go. It's just off. So I'm going to have to go to the actual agenda here. So, item number 1 is Minnehaha 3000 update. It's deleting from the agenda the Minnehaha 3000 draft concept plan, which is a recommendation to utilize the property at 3000 Minnehaha for future use by election voter services. And there's a second part to it, so it's 1.2, which is approving a legislative directive requesting data regarding the city's truth and reconciliation process, past projects involving city property developed into community-centered projects. And then item number 2 is the Sundance Film Festival request for information. I'll move approval of item number 2, and I'll pull items 1.1 and 1.2 for a separate vote.
Councilmember Chavez has moved approval of item 2 of the report and has pulled items 1.1 and 1.2 each for separate votes. Is there any discussion on item 2? Councilmember Jenkins?
Thank you, President Payne. For some reason, speaker management won't allow me to get in queue, but thank you for the recognition. I really just wanted to express my excitement that we are have been invited to submit for this opportunity to bring the Sundance Film Festival to Minneapolis. Minneapolis has long been a hotbed, Minnesota and Minneapolis, for film festivals, filmmakers, etc. Some of the most iconic movies have been made in Minnesota, and I think Film North is growing and trying to bring that energy back to Minnesota, and an opportunity like hosting the Sundance Film Festival would only bolster that commitment to the film industry, which, by the way, brings tremendous has a tremendous economic impact for the city and for the state. So thrilled that we're submitting an application and hope that we are able to be in the running to host the Sundance Film Festival.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll on item number 2.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Vice President Shugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That carries, and that item is adopted. Next, we will take up item number 1.1, deleting from the agenda Minnehaha 3000. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Palmisano.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just feel the need to point out that I don't think I've ever in 10 years here seen something like this happen. Sure, we've deleted things from an agenda when things change dynamically, right? Typically reg services or land use things. New things sometimes happen over the course of one cycle. But this is different, and I just need to point that out. The context of this starts last year after staff and third-party community engagement, and after nearly everybody here, not pertaining to our 2 new colleagues, voted that police use would never be allowed back at this site. And because of briefings that then Council President Jenkins and I, as council leadership, suggested to provide a lot of information and invite questions and concerns, staff and the mayor's office heard that you wanted to work and act together on what's next. And I want to feel I need to point out that this is a departure of that. I've never seen such disregard for staff recommendations and research that's based on multiple factors, not because we disagree with it happening. You've made that clear in your comments, but because you literally don't want to vote on it. So after everything said last year about how dare this happen without your buy-in, some of you want to distance yourselves from it. Since when do we operate in this way, that a motion made, seconded, and having hours of discussion then gets deleted? It's not an improvement, and I hope we don't do that again, no matter what the topic.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Thank you, President Payne. I just wanted to express my disappointment that we're deleting this from the agenda as well. I think it disregards a lot of significant work that staff have put in to this process. And, you know, as has been noted, they can continue to do community engagement, but I just think it would have been more powerful if we as a body were engaged. I mean, I know we've written letters to the administration wanting to be engaged in other issues with, you know, multiple points of engagement, timelines of how the administration is going to report back, and et cetera, et cetera. And this was an opportunity to work together on this project. But, you know, like I said, I'm just disappointed that we are opting out of that possibility. Thank you.
Councilmember Koski.
Thank you, President Payne. I just was wondering if I could ask the clerk a quick question.
Mr. Clerk?
Just to clarify, if so, we're voting in. Can you just describe the vote here and what each of our votes would mean on this? Because we're voting then to delete it. I just want to make sure we're really clear on what we're voting on. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, to the councilmember's question, a motion to delete from the agenda is our standard parlance for we're shutting that file. It's done. There's no action taken. It doesn't prevent the body. I think this was mentioned during committee. I think that the COO, Margaret Anderson Kelleher, mentioned that the body can always come back at a future point and receive reports on the engagement the administration plans to do, and certainly if and when any action is to happen at the property located at 3000 Minnehaha, this body has a role to play. So the motion to delete is simply saying we're taking no definitive action on this today, and the matter is removed from the agenda. The file is closed.
Thank you.
Councilmember Wansley.
Thank you, President Payne. I do want to offer some clarity also as to why we're bringing the legislative directive attached to this item. So when we had briefings about the concept plan, which again originally was just supposed to be a receive and file, not a vote, we were also advised as council members that if we did not support the concept plan that Mayor Fry and his staff was recommending, then council should then give direction on what to do next. And the legislative directive is reflective of that. It's reflective of what we've heard, those of us who represent the boundaries of the old 3rd Precinct and who have been either part of creating or participating in community-led conversations about the redevelopment of that site. It's reflective of what constituents have asked for, which is a truth and reconciliation process. It's also a recognition of the other options that they're exploring, such as the Black Cultural Arts Center and so many others that they're actually advancing and advocating for funding for, and those proposals does not include EVS. It also recognizes the need for our EVS and the physical resources that our staff is asking for to support that work, and we're asking staff to come back with an analysis and look at other properties in which could accommodate EVS. So I do want to highlight that we are still engaging through the legislative directive with staff around these critical components that we've heard, from our constituents and also, again, from staff, what their needs are. So I'm really looking forward to seeing the results and responses to this legislative directive to hopefully continue this conversation in a positive direction, at least on this side. I also want to offer clarity, too, that Mayor Fry has already announced that he intends to move forward with the concept plan that we're not basically taking a definitive action on, which affirms what many of us talked about on Tuesday of really does our vote even make a difference in his decision? And apparently it does not, because he's moving forward with it. So at least through the legislative directive, we can start doing some of the things that we've promised to constituents and have failed to deliver on, such as, again, truth and reconciliation, acknowledging other type of options that can replace that site, and also meeting the needs around election and voter services for our staff. So wanted to provide that context.
Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you, Council President Payne. This vote was not brought forward with the intention of working with us. It felt more like a gotcha moment. And that's why it's a little frustrating that it's being disguised that this vote is to get input from council to work together to find a solution. We could have met to find a solution that is agreeable with our residents and a pathway forward, but that's not the pathway that was moved forward with. I also know I'm ready to vote no. It doesn't have to be deleting from the agenda. I am not scared of taking a vote. I can be a no vote. I was just, from my understanding, I thought the deleting from the agenda would just make it so if this were to have failed, it would still be on the agenda the following week. So that's what I thought what it meant, but I'm ready to vote no if that's what folks are asking us to make a decision.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Thank you, Chair Payne. First of all, I want to take a moment to acknowledge and appreciate the work that staff put behind this, and also understand that we should be looking for election voter services building. Our election staff need a place to work, and that's a need that I care deeply about. I think I made my opinion on this pretty clear. Like, we were told by staff that our vote was not necessary multiple times, and that this was a unique thing that was occurring. And I just felt like it was out of order of operations to ask for council approval, and I didn't feel like this is a mechanism for us to come together, because in neither of the briefings were there any opportunities offered to council members to definitively weigh in on the project. And in the first briefing, it was told to me that there would be community engagement ahead of any type of council action that was taken. And it's and the way that the second briefing that I had was on a Friday, and then I was told I would have to vote up or down on an item the following week on Tuesday. So that did not feel collaborative, and this doesn't feel like a collaboration point. I have reached out to COO Anderson and the mayor's office to discuss how we can collaborate further on 3000 Minnehaha. This council has multiple times outside of a process with an up or down vote on a concept plan been able to find places of collaboration. I felt this was an unnecessary vote, and with deleting the item, it's not a opposition or approval of the concept plan, but if I were to have to vote without having the necessary things that I need to have buy-in as a council member and understand where our negotiation points and where the community has some negotiation points and what community engagement looks like, I would have voted no. So I can put that in the record.
Councilmember Cashman.
Thank you, President Payne. I'd like to ask the clerk, if we were to vote no on deleting this from the agenda, what would happen to the item?
Mr. Clerk.
Mr. President, the item remains on the council's agenda. There's no action having been taken, and so it would stay on the agenda until the council took some sort of dispositive action to either delete from the agenda, to approve the plan, to modify the plan and make approvals. So I think this was the clerk's recommendation to the body that, given what we heard from both briefings and formal presentations and the committee of the whole's discussion, was that the body really didn't want to take a position. And so this allows us to essentially close the file in limbs, if you will, on this issue. It does not take an action up or down, so this is not a thumbs up or a thumbs down. It's simply saying, we're done with that item, take that off of our agenda, if that makes sense. If the body doesn't approve a motion to delete from the agenda, then it stays on the council agenda and will continue to be an item for the body to consider.
Thank you. So I will be voting no on deleting this from the agenda. And I think that it does keep the door open for more conversations with staff, for more updates on community engagement plans. I just don't want to signal to residents and community members that we don't want to work on this. So that's why I'll be voting no on deleting it from the agenda. And I have heard from community members in Ward 7. I realize Ward 7 is not in the vicinity of this area, but that they are excited about an election and voter services center on a transit line that's much closer to Ward 7 than the current election voter services center. And I'll also be supporting the legislative directive today.
Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you, Council President Payne. I'll note that I'm going to make a motion to actually just vote down this proposal. So I'll take a full vote. Voting no. Recommendation, or just if the clerk can help me, but I'm just going to make my motion to actually just vote it down. I'll just name it very clear. The way that this project has come before the council has been wrong. There has been a lack of actual engagement with council on how to move forward on this critical project. There has been a lack of engagement with the people in the area. There has been a lack of engagement of actually hearing from Black and brown and immigrant voices and indigenous people in the area. And to pretend that that has happened is just wrong. And it's time to just, I'm ready to vote no.
I believe the clerk is going to make a recommendation. Are you going to respond to that, Mr. Clerk?
Mr. President, I believe that there's a substitute motion offered by Councilmember Chavez, which is to recommend a denial against the plan that was brought forward by the administration.
Procedurally, I think we could just vote on the item on the agenda, delete, so we could just vote no, and that would keep the item on the agenda, and then would we take a follow-on vote, or do we need a substitute?
Mr. President, first and foremost, we need a second to the motion, the substitute that's been offered. Then it can be discussed. So the motion now before you is to deny the plan that was brought forward by the administration.
Okay. Councilmember Vita, did you want to speak to that?
I think I have it. I think I understand what we're going to be voting on.
Okay. So, can you, Mr. Clerk, can you explain what an aye vote and what a nay vote would be on this motion?
I will do my best, Mr. President, and I'm going to ask the city attorney to monitor me as I wade into this waters. The substitute motion that's in front of the body now is to deny the staff or the administration's recommendation for the disposition of the property located at 3000 Minnehaha Avenue. And so a yes vote would be to formally take a position that says we are not in favor of that recommended plan, right? A thumbs down. A no vote is saying, no, we're not going to take that. We're not going to take off the table the option of putting elections and voter services at that site, at least at this point. So a yes vote is absolutely no elections and voter services plan at the 3000 Minnehaha location. A no vote is, things are still as they were when we left them at the committee of the whole meeting. The administration is moving forward with engagement on its proposal. The council hasn't taken a position on what alternatives might be.
Ms. Anderson.
Council President, and just a little bit of clarification, voting affirmatively to deny the plan is just expressing the will of this body that this body is not in support of the plan. Obviously, the mayor's, the administration has the ability to do whatever it's going to do, but it's an expression of the will of this body.
As a point of clarification, this does not ban the administration from pursuing community engagement around an early voting center, and it does not prohibit us from, in the future, as a result of that engagement, approving a plan that includes an early voting center. We're simply taking a vote to not endorse that plan today.
Council President, I think that's a fair summary.
Okay. Councilmember Jenkins.
Thank you, President Payne. I've never seen a motion to deny. I mean, is this a proper motion? Is I guess my question.
Mr. President, I believe it's a proper motion. I will agree it is an awkwardly worded motion. It's presenting a negative proposal, and typically we look for an affirmative proposal. So this is putting forward a negative proposition to be voted on by the body, but it is a proper motion.
And
thank you, Mr. Clerk. The negative intent is what's sort of confusing me, but it's a proper motion, so fine, let's vote on it.
And Mr. Clerk, to clarify, the motion before us, if it were to pass, would be the equivalent of denying the deletion of the item from the agenda. Well, if we were to vote in the affirmative, it would be the equivalent of voting down the deletion of this item from the agenda, which would thereby make it currently on our agenda, and then that would be the equivalent of voting down the approval of that plan.
I think that's correct, Mr. President. I think the cumulative total effect of a yes vote on this, if it were to pass, is it is the formal position of this body that they do not endorse the plan that was put forward by the administration.
Thank you. Councilmember Ellison.
Can we take one action on this item?
Yep.
I'm not interested in taking two actions on this item.
That is correct.
So I just like, yeah. So
Yep.
I don't know if we could remove this motion and then just take one action on this item, but
This motion is the one action
Okay, all right,
version.
thank you.
Yes. Yes. So with that, clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
No.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
No.
Councilmember Walmsley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Nay.
Councilmember Palmisano.
No.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
No.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
No.
Vice President Shugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 7 ayes and 6 nays.
That substitute motion carries, meaning that the body does not approve of the concept plan. But again, to reiterate, that does not foreclose the possibility of an early voting center as a future choice of this body. And with that, we are now on to item number 2.2, the legislative directive. I'm sorry, 1.2, the legislative directive. Is there any discussion on that? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
No.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Walmsley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Nay.
Councilmember Palmisano.
No.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
No.
Vice President Shugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 9 ayes and 4 nays.
That carries, and the report is adopted. The final report will be offered by our Public Health and Safety Committee, which will be presented by that committee's chair, which is also Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Public Health and Safety Committee is bringing forward 6 items. Item number 1 is the passage of a resolution approving city sponsorship of National Night Out. Item number 2 is authorizing a joint powers agreement with the state of Minnesota and the police department for a mounted patrol unit to assist with law enforcement protection at the state fair. This item was sent forward without recommendation. Item number 3 is authorizing a joint powers agreement with the City of St. Paul to allow for the transfer of investigations in civil rights cases. Item number 4 is authorizing an increase to a contract with Tool for Labor Standards Collaborative Enforcement Services. Item number 6 is accepting a grant from the Mississippi Watershed Management Organization to hire interns. And item number 6 is accepting the Urban and Community Forestry Grant from the U.S. Department of Agricultural Forest Services. I'll move approval of these items with the exception of item number 2, which I will just pull for a separate vote.
Councilmember Chavez has moved approval of the report minus item number 2. Is there any discussion on the remainder of those items? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Walmsley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman is absent. Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Vice President Shugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 12 ayes.
And that item carries. Next, we will take up item number 2. Is there a motion to approve item 2?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Item number 2 has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll. Councilmember Jenkins.
I'm just clarifying, this action would help to support public safety at the state fairgrounds during the state fair? Is that our mounted patrol would be assisting with other agencies to help provide public safety at the Minnesota State Fair?
My read of the agenda is it's a joint powers agreement to have the mounted patrol participate at the state fairgrounds. What their mission is, I don't have the answer to that.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, well, I'm stating what the mission is. is to support public safety at the Minnesota State Fair. Thank you.
Councilmember Wansley.
Thank you, President Payne. Last term, we actually had MPD give a presentation about the Mountain Patrol and asked them about actually the verifiable impacts of this particular safety initiative on safety overall. And found out not only are we the only city in the entire state that still have horses, with our police, they also shared in their presentation, it really operates more as a PR piece so that community members can come up and rub the horses while the police sit on them. So yes, in terms of public relations, it's a great tool for, getting the public to smile at police officers on horses. So if that's equated to public safety, sure. But I do encourage residents to check out that presentation that we did have in the Policy and Oversight and Government Committee that's now AO. So I know that presentation was very helpful for me in making a decision on this item.
Councilmember Osmond.
Thank you, Council President. I will be supporting this item. I think last 3.5 years I've been here, we always had our officers assisting the biggest gathering in the state. And I think it's great that we contribute. Thank you.
Vice President Chugtai.
Thank you, Mr. President. Appreciate Councilmember Wansley's comments and remember also watching that presentation after it came through committee last year. I wasn't on the committee myself, but got a chance to catch up and see what the discussion there was like. And to me, I voted no against on this item last year. I'm going to do it again today, and it ultimately comes down to either we have a law enforcement shortage or we don't, and we know for a fact that we do in our city. And so, to me, it doesn't make sense for us to be sending our law enforcement resources to Falcon Heights, and especially when there are other agencies that are stepping up and doing the law enforcement work at the state fair. So, I don't personally understand why we would do that at a time when we have less resources. So that to me is the very practical reason for why I will be voting no on this item again this year.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Thank you, President Payne. I guess joint powers agreements, we have many of them. Many communities have signed to help Minneapolis. I think that a vast majority of Minneapolitans do go to the state fair. So to deny being in a joint powers agreement actually limits our ability to be in relationship with other communities when we need assistance. So it just seems, I don't want to use the word foolish, but seemingly just uninformed of us to not participate when we know we need joint powers assistance from other communities and other agencies as well. And, if there's a mounted police officer, I'm sure they would dismount in any instance of a public safety. I know they are not just riding horses for PR. Like that's like saying they're just driving their cars to be visible in the car. They're riding the horse or a bike or walking to provide a presence of public safety.
Councilmember Rainville.
Well said, Councilmember Jenkins. I'm so happy to sit next to you and absorb your wisdom close up. So life is a two-way street, council members. And whether it's the help that we get from the joint powers agreements, the other law enforcement in the uptown when they have the crime there, or the University of Minnesota when the crime is there, they help us. It's our turn to help them and be a team player in this. I'll be voting yes.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Also in that presentation, which I was there for and part of last year, it wasn't about just PR. Literally, the presenter said that these horses having a mounted patrol has a calming effect on crowds. That's part of why we use them in crowd disbursement. That's part of the continued case to continue using them in our city. So it's not just PR. And as it was just stated, we are the only jurisdiction with a mounted patrol. If so, that's the way for the city to uniquely participate and to be a collaborative partner and bring this kind of unique resource to the state fair. And I think it's pretty cool for the city to do that. Whether it's for PR or for public safety, it's our way to participate. Thank you.
Councilmember Ellison.
My substantive issue is not with the joint powers agreement itself, but maybe with the mounted patrol. I've been up here talking about horses for nearly 7 years, and we did spend at least one of those cycles as a council attempting to divest from our horses. We took that vote. It didn't occur somehow. We still have those horses. We still are invested, in the horses, and I'm sensitive to the fact that we would need to find a responsible way to offload these horses and not just, hit the eject button on them so that they don't have any sort of recourse or that they can't be stabled. I get that. But I've never been, I've been on plenty of councils where the majority agreed that we shouldn't be invested in the horses. It's expensive. I don't know that the efficacy is actually there. I know that the arguments are there, that the talking points are there. I don't know that the actual efficacy is there in terms of horses as a public safety tool. So I'll vote against that. I've been making that argument for nearly 7 years, 6.5 years at this point. And so that's my issue. I agree with the other points that we should, if jurisdictions are helping us, it's fair that we help them. I think that that's an appropriate line of argument, but I'm just not, why not have bike patrol? Why not have foot patrol? I think we gotta get out of the horse business. That's my opinion.
Councilmember Wansley.
Thank you, Councilmember Ellison. And again, just want to reiterate, I shared words that were also given to committee members at that time where PR was literally used. So this is not Robin's words. This was an MPD staffer's words. And also, as you highlighted, Councilmember Ellison, for those who were part of POGO last year, you also know we can't immediately hit the reject button on the mounted patrol because we have signed into, I believe, a multi-year lease to handle or provide boarding services to these horses. So this is not eliminating the mounted patrol in itself as a vote. I also want to highlight this piece of, when the joint power agreements or the mutual aid that we receive from various law enforcement agencies, we pay for that. That is not just voluntarily happening. We do allocate resources for those other government agencies to assist. And that has been a pretty effective tool in getting crime relatively low and to show up in moments of crisis, as Councilmember Rainville highlighted, in places like my ward where MPD is not handling 911 calls, but it's being handled by UMPD because they recognize some of the challenges we're experiencing. But I do want to highlight that we do pay for those levels of services from other law enforcement agencies as well.
Councilmember Cashman.
Thank you, President Payne. I do not want to take us totally off the rails here, but I would be curious if the attorneys could let me know which joint powers agreements are in force for Uptown. And this can be a follow-up, but Uptown really needs these resources.
And Council President, I don't know the answer off the top of my head, but we can provide that information.
Thank you.
And just a reminder, we're talking about the Joint Powers Agreement for the State Fair. I put myself in queue just to echo some of the sentiments that Councilmember Ellison shared. I think that we should be thinking strategically about what the best safety investments are, and are we getting the best return on those safety investments with our horse program. Today is not the vote for that. Today is the vote for, now that we have a horse program, what are we going to do with it? So I'm going to continue working with Councilmember Ellison and understanding how best to move forward with that program. So I'll be supporting this today, but I do think that we need to be really thinking critically about how effective this program is per dollar. Is there any other discussion? Councilmember Chowdhury.
Thank you, Chair. Since we're all talking about the horses today, I thought I would chime in. I'll just note I have never had to take up this issue. I did find it concerning in the past that we divested from the horses and they were never divested from. Very interested in leaning into that. Sounds like we have a multi-year agreement. And it sounds like this body wants to send the horses while we have them to the state fair. So while this item's before us, I will be supportive of sending them to the state fair, but really would love to follow up on why we weren't able to see the follow through on the divestment when that was an action taken by this council previously.
Seeing no further discussion on this item, I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Chavez.
No.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
No.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Nay.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Vice President Shugtai.
Nope.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 9 ayes and 4 nays.
That carries, and that report has been adopted. Colleagues, the next order of business is the introduction and referral calendar. Councilmembers Wansley, Chavez, and Osman will be introducing and giving first reading to the subject matter of an ordinance to amend the licensing code related to enforcement of minimum compensation for transportation rideshare companies, which will be referred to the Business, Housing, and Zoning Committee. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Chowdhury.
Thank you, Chair Payne. I am bringing forward an amendment that is before the body today with Council President Payne. It is just adding the language saying and determining minimum compensation rate. This amendment is a technical change to ensure that as we are engaging in discussions with the state legislature, and as we have received some new insights from the policy and research team, we have the ability to make adjustments to our compensation rate if we deem necessary. So I'll be asking for the body's support of this amendment today.
Councilmember Chowdhury has moved the amendment. It is co-authored by myself, so it doesn't need a second. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Cashman.
Thank you. Can I be made a co-author of this amendment?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
And I think I saw the clerks nodding that they'll get that recorded. Any other discussion? Seeing none, Councilmember Jenkins.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm just clarifying this. So this amendment is to add to the introduction next council cycle.
So this was given notice last council cycle, and because of the language of this notice prior to this amendment, we would not be able to make any modifications to rates moving forward with the additional work that was intended with the original notice around enforcement. And so this amendment allows rates to be considered moving forward through the legislative process. So this will be referred to committee and be open for amendments in that space.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Mr. Clerk, would you like to clarify?
Mr. President, you did an excellent job. I'll repeat in maybe my own way. The original notice that was given last cycle focused only on the enforcement of pay rates. largely around mandated data reporting and access to data from TNC companies. What this does is add back in the actual underlying pay rates. So in addition to the enforcement mechanisms that was originally noticed last cycle, this brings back pay rates so that the body, as it's moving through the legislative process, as President Payne noted, has the ability both to talk about enforcement and the underlying issue or question of the pay rates that have already been set in the original ordinance. And which, I guess I can continue, and which, absent any further action by the body, will become effective on July 1. So if that brings back to people's collective, memory, this was the original ordinance was to become effective on April 1st. Councilmember Cashman made a motion before its first adoption and said move back to May. This body recently extended that effective date to July 1st. So we are looking and working towards an effective date of July 1st. Between now and July 1st, these amendments will go through the normal process at committee, as the president alluded, and it will allow the body to consider both the underlying original pay rates that are in the ordinance already enacted and enforcement mechanisms tied to mandated data reporting and other types of enforcements that are contemplated within the ordinance. I hope that helps.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. And if I may, Mr. President, so initially there was this introduction and referral for TNC Ride Share Worker Protection Ordinance. So the amendment by Chowdhury and Payne, is that an amendment to this introduction or to something that happened last week?
To the notice of introduction that happened last week. About 2 weeks ago, last cycle.
And so today, the effect of that, I heard Mr. Daylor just say, it broadens the effect of that notice that was given, right? Every time we open up an ordinance, we give notice about the extent of the impact we're anticipating. So this broadens the notice that was given last cycle, includes the subject matter of pay rates as well as mandated enforcements. And today's action is the introduction, the granting of first reading and referral to the Business, Housing, and Zoning Committee, the Home Committee that will then consider any further action on that ordinance, which seeks to amend the original ordinance on transportation network companies.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Got it.
Councilmember Chavez.
Oh, I'm not on queue anymore. Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to give Councilmember Vita a moment to return to chambers. Or we take roll call. So if anybody wants to get in queue and share, we'll just pause for a moment for Vita.
This might be a great opportunity to bring forward a little announcement as we're waiting and share with the body that I believe it's on Sunday, one of the council members will be celebrating her birthday. And so in celebration and commemoration of this momentous solar return for Councilmember Oreen Chowdhury, the clerk's office has cupcakes, if we ever end this meeting, downstairs in the council offices, and I think there are a variety of different flavors, and they're little one-bite cupcakes, so we shouldn't feel guilty about partaking. So a happy birthday wish to Councilmember Chowdhury, and then maybe an incentive for the rest of the meeting in that there are cupcakes downstairs.
Thank you. And thank you, Clerk Carl. I really appreciated being put on the spot. Yeah, it's my 27th birthday on the 27th, so it's my golden birthday. Have more than one bite. Have multiple cupcakes, please.
Okay, we are ready. Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. President, just to clarify, this is the calling the roll on the Chowdhury-Payne-Cashman amendment in front of you, adding compensation rates to the notice.
Correct.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
No.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville is absent. Vice President Shugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 11 ayes and 1 nay.
That amendment carries. Next, we will take up the underlying motion to refer. Is there any discussion? Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Councilmember Rainville is absent. Vice President Shugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 12 ayes.
That carries, and the matter will be considered by the Biz Committee in the next cycle. The next order of business is resolutions. As shown on the agenda, we have 3 honorary resolutions today. Are there any questions or comments from council members on any of those resolutions? Seeing none, may I have a motion to adopt all 3.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Vita.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Koski.
Aye.
Councilmember Wansley.
Aye.
Councilmember Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilmember Palmisano.
Aye.
Councilmember Chowdhury.
Aye.
Councilmember Cashman.
Aye.
Councilmember Osman.
Aye.
Vice President Shugtai.
Aye.
President Payne.
Aye.
There are 12 ayes.
That carries, and those resolutions are adopted. Colleagues will now take up any announcements. Do any council members have announcements to share today? Councilmember Ellison.
Thank you, Council President Payne. This past week on the north side, we had a loss of a big figure of somebody who has been entrepreneur, just a genuine guy. Sammy McDowell, who's the owner of Sammy's Avenue Eatery, passed away suddenly. And so just wanted to, a couple of my colleagues have reached out, Councilmember Wansley, Councilmember Vita. I know that the mayor's working on something as well. So we will have some formal action coming forward in the next couple of cycles. But I did just want to offer just sort of condolences to his family and then see if my colleagues would humor me in a moment of silence for Sammy McDowell. Thank you all.
Thank you, Councilmember Ellison. Seeing no one else in queue, we have no further business to come before the council, and without objection, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.